something very strange that happens only in Finland that I've come to know. People over here have a 1 month holiday. Everybody, all working professionals, even the heads of states, the government, the month of July and even some parts of August are like a 1 month break for the country. Nothing happens. And they have a 1 month relaxing vacation without any work. They don't do anything. And they just forage for mushrooms and berries and live the summer life. Can you imagine that? Yeah, as a very emancipated Indian girl growing up in a middle class household, I think in my generation, we did not do as many chores. Maybe it's also our comfort zone, or I don't know.
Right.
वो भी ढूंढ लेते हैं, पता है कि कहाँ पे कपड़े धुलवाने हैं. But I think getting services done in India is so much more convenient than abroad, and I really, really value that now that I've seen so much of the world.
People dismiss or try to avoid loneliness and just उसको वो positively reframe करते हैं कि नहीं मेरा solitude है. But loneliness is a very real emotion, right? कि जब आप बिल्कुल अकेले पड़ जाओ कि मेरे आसपास कोई नहीं है या मेरे यहाँ कोई दोस्त नहीं है.
मतलब at least when I was growing up, मैं थोड़ी सी ऐसे introverted और loner type की बंदी थी. Recording this remote podcast with me for the first time, like I'm sure you have more guests aligned, but
full disclaimer, yes, after a while. पहले मैं ऐसे ही करता था. पहले I used to have this other podcast called the Vinamre Tanya show. This was in the pandemic, and तब सिर्फ I used to have a Blue Yeti microphone and the MacBook Pro camera जो मैं कभी साफ भी नहीं करता था. तो वही मतलब पूरी लाइटिंग के अंदर बैठ के करता था रिकॉर्ड. But no, I've come on Zoom after a long time, and that's mostly because the integration that is available on Google Calendar, Google Meet के साथ, it's become more intuitive to use that. But it's still a challenge to record Google Meet क्योंकि कुछ लंबा चौड़ा elaborate चीज करनी पड़ती है. So I just went back to good old Zoom pandemic friend.
I think you need like a Google workspace kind of an account, business account or something to be able to record, वरना नहीं कर सकते. I think something like that. Some issues gives.
वो तो मेरे पास है, but I could never figure it out how to do it. But anyway, here we are. I think हम लोगों ने last बात करी थी कब? Like last winter we spoke, right? It's been a while.
Last winter. It's been a long while.
Yeah, and your reels and shorts around credit card usage in flights really blew up.
I got so much hate on it. All kinds of really, I don't know, people who are just women with the cup, all kinds of guys giving those kind of comments.
as I drink coffee.
I was like, what nonsense. खुद credit card use करो फिर आके मुझे बोलो.
Yeah, I think बहुत सारे वेले लोग बैठे रहते हैं. But you know, to your credit, I actually started using credit cards after you told me to. And
that's great.
बस मेरी लाइफ दो चीजों से बदली है. एक तो मेरे को मेरी बैंक वाली ने जब यहाँ पे आने से पहले बोला, सर आपका ये क्रेडिट कार्ड है, और उसने मेरे को थोड़ा सा शेम करा because apparently when I started my current account I got the credit card on it, didn't have too much of a balance. उन्होंने सबसे सस्ता वाला दे दिया मेरे को, business money back type का, कि सर मैं आपको अपग्रेड करूंगी Imperia Regalia तक. The second thing is the credit card definitely allowed me to become more financially disciplined. You know, because you have to pay a bill, so you're more fixed about your finances. Is your policy still the same around credit cards? Have you upgraded in any way?
Yeah, I think currently it's the same. I'm looking for an Amex card. I've just been kind of avoiding it because it has a huge yearly fee. But I figured it out. Some investments that are giving me returns, and us returns get through, I'll just pay the yearly fee. I mean, it's not such a big deal either, but I've just been really lazy in sending my documents, to be honest. I've been talking to the credit card company, but I'm just trying to upgrade to an Amex card. It got approved and everything. But ever since we last spoke, no, I haven't really, because just been on the road mostly.
Talking about that, you know, so lounges are a big thing. Lounges are something that airlines and credit card companies ये दोनों एक बहुत बड़ा perk देते हैं अपने guests को या users को कि आपको इससे इतनी lounge access मिलेगी, 40 lounge मिलेंगे, 20 lounge मिलेंगे. आप business class लो तो आपको business class lounge मिलेगा. आप एतिहाद का first class लो तो आपको first class मिलेगा, right?
Yes.
There are all those lounges. Then there are those paid lounges जिनमें आप कुछ पैसे देके जाओ, priority pass वगैरह चलता है. Then there is just everyone else in the airport. So obviously I didn't fly through business class, you know, when I was coming to Spain. So it's a paid lounge at Abu Dhabi airport. And मतलब मेरे को what I did realize is कि paid lounges की जो exclusivity है ना, it sort of died down. Like back in the day when you first used to travel, you used to feel like, wow, मैं एक lounge में बैठा हूँ या बैठी हूँ, कितनी exclusive चीज है. हाँ. That's. Do you have any lounge hacks for that? Like, what is your experience around lounges?
Just credit cards. I think my credit card gives me the lounge access, and I've used it in so many different places. Almost all of my layovers in so many different countries, like Sweden, where else? Abu Dhabi, Qatar.
Huh.
I don't know. Anytime that I have a layover, I just end up using a lounge, even if I'm not flying business class, because I feel like वहाँ पे बहुत शांति होती है. Otherwise, in the rest of the airport, there's just no space to even sit on most days. लोग सो रहे हैं, 4 seats को लेके लोग सो रहे हैं अपने bag को लेके. So it just feels like ठीक है यार, अगर लंबा layover, I might as well just want to spend it at a lounge, and it's so easy to do so with a credit card. Although when I came to Finland, a little bit of a flex, I did fly business class, and the Privy Lounge of Delhi Airport was really, really good.
What is
I
this?
think
The Privy Lounge? It's some new
Privy.
lounge.
So there's, and I think the brand which runs the lounge in Delhi Airport is Encom, and unka ek lounge hota hai which is accessible through priority pass, or if your credit card gives you access. And then there's the business class lounge which has recently opened up, and I saw it for the first time. It was just so good. The food over there, the space, everything. So I think, I mean, even if you fly a short business class just Qatar tak ke liye, Abu Dhabi ke liye, kahin pe bhi aas-paas ke liye, oh my gosh, you should definitely try it out at least once. It's really good. The food was also excellent. Everybody wearing a chef's cap over there. बहुत ही ऐसे 5-star वाली feeling थी उसमें. And I thought कि अरे वाह यार, Delhi Airport got a new upgrade.
एंड जो सबसे टिपिकल लाउंज दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट का, मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा उसका नाम क्या है, जो एस्केलेटर से ऊपर जाते हैं T3 के अंदर, द फर्स्ट लाउंज, द सेकंड लाउंज. एक तो एयर इंडिया के प्राइवेट लाउंजेस हैं.
हाँ, correct. I think Encom है. That's what it's
Encom.
called.
Okay. So it got renovated from what I know, because earlier, I don't know if you went there earlier. I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
कि वहां पे लोग हमसे लड़ाई करते रहते थे रिसेप्शनिस्ट से कि मेरा कार्ड चल रहा है या नहीं चल रहा, मेरा प्रायोरिटी कार्ड, हाउ कैन यू डू इट, राइट? और वो लोग दुखी रहते थे.
Correct. And I think that is still the same. I think it's always there. People, and I think recently some cards got restricted from entering the lounge in India. जैसे I think HDFC के काफी सारे Regalia वगैरह अब नहीं चलते lounge पे. काफी सारे. Yeah, Regalia no longer has lounge access in a lot of places, because earlier it used to be like, और प्लस रिगालिया तो हर किसी के पास होता ही है आजकल. आई मीन, आई एम सॉरी, बहुत बड़ा हाइपरबोल हो गया ये, हर किसी के पास नहीं, बट काफी फ्रीक्वेंट हो गया है. इट्स अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हैव दैट क्रेडिट कार्ड. सो आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाई दे मेड द पॉलिसी चेंज, एंड नाउ दे डोंट अलाउ पीपल एनीमोर. सो एवरी टाइम आई एम एट एन एयरपोर्ट लाउंज, आई सी पीपल फाइटिंग कि हमारा ये कार्ड अभी तो चलता था, अब नहीं चलता, अब क्यों बंद कर दिया, ये स्ट्रिक्ट हो गया, ये कब से हो गया, ये कौन सी नई पॉलिसी चेंज है.
हाँ, जब हम छोटे थे तो मेरे पापा ने थोड़ा घुमाया वगैरह दुनिया वगैरह में, तो उनके पास प्रायोरिटी पास था. अच्छा, बिकॉज यू हैव नो आइडिया कि कार्ड्स की हायरार्की क्या होती है, क्योंकि आपके पास एक ही रेफरेंस पॉइंट है, आपकी फैमिली, आप सोचते हो कि प्रायोरिटी पास बहुत ज्यादा होता होगा. तो मुझे याद है एज लाइक वेरी अर्ली ऑन, मे बी इवन डोमेस्टिकली फ्लाइंग एंड स्टफ, you could still use your family's priority pass and get away with it. Those are the early days. Right. Now there is a strict policy, आप बिल्कुल इसे यूज नहीं कर सकते. But my parents, being old school, हर बार यार प्रायोरिटी पास ले जाओ, क्या पता चल जाए. ठीक है, मैं हर बार जाता हूँ एक लाउंज के अंदर, पहले मैं बोलता हूँ प्रायोरिटी पास, बोलते हैं आपका है नहीं, फिर मैं दूसरा देता हूँ, फिर दूसरे तीसरे जाके आई ऑलवेज डू इट. बट it's I don't think if you have a very long layover flight, if you just rest on the airport chairs, you run the risk of potentially having osteoporosis, arthritis, क्या क्या हो सकता है, because इतनी देर बैठना पड़ता है. How do you deal with that?
I think more often than not, I've started, I think nowadays taking more of direct flights, पता नहीं, because I feel like ठीक है यार, थोड़ा सा extra कर लो, but there is some merit to using direct flights. And if I have to really save on the flight cost and direct flights are too expensive, then lounges are a big savior. But yeah, to be honest, I feel like मैंने इस बारे में इतना सोचा नहीं कि अगर मुझे चेयर पे बिठाना भी पड़ गया एयरपोर्ट पे बहुत लंबा टाइम, तो मैं कैसे करूंगी. I think I'll just wing it. In fact, I have also slept at a few airports on some occasions recently. जैसे कि, when you when you arrive at a new destination, if you're arriving at night or early in the morning, जैसे 4 बजे पहुंच रहे हो, and your room check-in is not till 3 p.m. In most hotels in Europe, 3 p.m. होता है check-in. यार मतलब क्या बकवास है ये.
मेरे साथ यही हुआ था. सुबह मेरी फ्लाइट 8 बजे आ गई, तो आई स्लेप्ट एट द एयरपोर्ट. बट यू टेल मी, सो अब दिक्कत क्या है उसके अंदर? तुम्हारे पास वो ट्रैवल पिलो है, ठीक है, बट लेट के सोना या फिर बैठ के सोना, क्योंकि 2 अलग चीजें हैं. मैंने
तो बेशरम होना शुरू कर दिया है. मैं लेट के सो जाती हूँ. फैल के 4 सीट्स पे. If I don't have lounge access and
हाँ
if it's necessary, क्योंकि अराइवल्स पे यूजुअली लाउंज नहीं होता है, तो
करेक्ट.
बस यार क्या करो और सो जाओ.
तो क्या दरी अलग से लेके जाती है कि वहां कहीं पे
नहीं
बिछानी पड़े?
नहीं, चेयर पे ही ऐसे 4 चेयर पकड़ के सो जाओ और क्या.
जैसे मैं बिकॉज आई अराइव्ड इन स्पेन ना, तो अब आदत वही वाली थी कि मेरे को ना अपना सामान फिर भी बचा के रखना है. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि
हाँ
सीटों
हाँ
पे
हाँ,
छोड़ दूं.
करेक्ट करेक्ट.
अब
नहीं नहीं, करेक्ट करेक्ट.
ठीक है, मेरा 8 बजे आई लैंडेड राइट. बाय 9 आई 8:30 तक मैं अराइवल्स पे आ गया. बैगेज बेल्ट्स के बीच में चेयर्स है, वहां बैठा हूँ. हम लाइक 3 बजे एंड माई सूटकेस इज फैट लाइक 25 किलोज और समथिंग.
राइट.
उसे कहाँ ढोता हुआ फिरूंगा मैं स्पेन की गलियों के अंदर, मैड्रिड की गलियों के अंदर. तो मैंने कहा ठीक है सो जाते हैं. बट हर 15 मिनट में, हर 30 मिनट में आंख खुले, because you're sleeping like
Yes.
that. And every hour, Tanya, some different flight comes in. अलग एथनिसिटी के लोग आते हैं, अलग बातें बातें करते हैं. मेरे आसपास कोई यहाँ बैठा है, वहां बैठा है, यहाँ बैठा है. I felt like going through like several lifetimes in that sleep because I saw so many passengers come in and come out, to the point that at one point arrivals में मैं अकेला इंसान रह गया था. And that's when I
Yeah.
left. I don't know if something similar has happened to you.
Damn. That is such a surreal, very, I mean, weird experience, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that has happened with me. मतलब off late तो quite a bit, जैसे मैंने mention किया कि check-in time नहीं हो. And in Sweden, one time I arrived at night, so at 9 o'clock in the night. And मैंने सोचा कि यार आज रात का पैसा देने का क्या point है Airbnb में, like 9, it's already 9 o'clock. By the time I get out of immigration, it's going to be 10 o'clock. What's the point? I might as well just sleep at the airport at arrivals. एंड तो यार 8 बजे से 3 बजे तक रुका था. मैं पिछले रात से लेके 3 बजे तक रुकी एयरपोर्ट पे. It felt like a lifetime had passed in front of my eyes. So yeah, I can relate.
So what did you do then? अच्छा, कुछ लोग करते हैं ट्रैवल का, वो ब्रश वश ले जाते हैं कि भाई अपना सारा मतलब like did you basically semi live at the airport?
Yeah, I did. I always keep a toothbrush in my handbag, no matter what. Although अभी तो arrivals भी हो गया था, तो मेरे पास suitcase भी था, but कौन खोलेगा? तो I keep a mini kit with me, which is in my backpack, जिसमें toothbrush होता है, face cream, skincare, very important at the airport.
Of course, yeah. I did not pay attention to skincare at all, and मुझे पता नहीं था कि like you think क्योंकि तुम अच्छे planes के अंदर you're always in an air conditioner of some kind that dust won't accumulate. But then जब मैं बाहर निकला, मैंने ऐसे अपने सर पे रखा and I was like, what the fuck, this is dust. ये कैसे हो गया है? And I realized all of this air travel, you're just coming through, like all these nasty germs, bacteria, वगैरह, and it just takes a toll on you. Then I took a really good shower.
In fact, it's really because you're also in a not small, but you're in an enclosed space with so many passengers. So definitely, it's not the most hygienic to fly. I mean, if anybody thinks so, no. Which is, I think, COVID ke time pe, it was such a big deal, no? Like flying was a big deal, and everybody was advertising, no, our flights have HEPA filters.
Yeah, I'm glad we returned to normalcy. But tell me something, a pretty big life update. First of all, congratulations for your Roka engagement, I guess.
Thanks. Roka nahi tha, engagement tha. Like it was just
engagement.
No, yeah.
Yeah, लोग इस चीज के लिए उड़ के जाते हैं. So I'm pretty sure this was like a part of your lifestyle already कि मेरी 36,000 ट्रिप्स में से एक के अंदर ये हो गया.
नहीं यार, it was a big deal, I think, because I mean, it was definitely I did not expect it in that moment. So that was definitely something different. Ki, oh, wow. Plus under the Northern Lights, that's amazing.
Solid. Yeah.
Only a traveler can probably feel the, कि oh, ये special moment है. Northern Lights पहली बार देखी life में, and उसी के अंदर I got my proposal.
ऐसा नहीं है कि 4 seasons में एक suite book करा और चलो जी हो गया.
नहीं यार. I think I'm not that kind of a person. Yeah. To me, that wouldn't mean much.
So tell me something then. Last time हम लोगों ने बात करी थी, you were setting up a few things. You were living in Gurgaon. You had a team there, a nice apartment there, vlogging channel, gardening चल रही थी. You were just like, out and about in the Indian travel vlogging space. It's probably like the authority here. That's what I think. Then a big pivot happened, and recently I saw that you are now in Helsinki doing a 90 days collaboration of some sorts with the country, and from what I know, I think you and your partner Ishan have kind of moved abroad. What has that been like, and what is the exact thing? I'm not sure I understood.
Okay, I'll explain. So we decided that we will both. He has moved remote in his work, and मैं तो remote थी, but I also like stopped living in that Gurgaon space and working out of there because I realized कि if my job is traveling, I think it makes more sense that I don't stay in one place. Okay, having a base is important, but create a base elsewhere. Like have multiple bases. So it all started as an experiment ki maybe like let's just stop living here in one place and have that one obligation of coming back, paying rent over there, and rent is really skyrocketing now, so it doesn't make sense that you also pay for that and then you also spending a lot on travel because obviously traveling can get very expensive. So I decided to stop renting that place, and even Ishan joined, which was amazing because it feels like I have like that companion with me now to travel. So we embarked on what we tried to make a world trip, but we did make a few mistakes, to be honest. Like we wanted to not have a base, and the person that I am, I get very excited about doing new things. So मैंने बहुत कुछ plan कर लिया उसमें. Like we left with the intention of first going out for the first 2 months. We got a lot of our visas and everything done. And look, Scandinavia ke side aaye. Sorry, or rather the Nordic region.
Let me stop you right there. Talking about the visas, right? So because you were doing Scandinavia primarily, you just applied for one Schengen visa, both of you? And did you apply for additional visas? Just like, for example, if you go to Morocco, I don't know if you went to Morocco, but like you would apply for a separate visa. Did you just stay in the Schengen zone then?
We got UK visa, Schengen visa, and we already both had the US visa also.
Solid.
So uska US visa nahi tha, sorry. So we applied for his US visa. I had it because I visited a friend last year. So we just had these 3 visas, and our plan was that first we'll enter the Schengen, then we'll go to UK, then we'll go to US, and then we'll come back to the Schengen. Very messy plan, and that was courtesy me, and that is the mistake that I'm coming at, that I made a really intense travel plan because I was like, oh, if we're doing this, let's do everything. Sab kuch kar lete hain.
What's the duration? 15, 20 days? 1 month?
No, 2 months. So 2 months, and we did quite a lot in that, and we were changing a lot of apartments, and almost every 2 to 3 days we were changing an apartment because and when you travel abroad, you pack a lot of things. So we each had a suitcase which was 23 kgs. We each had a second smaller bag which was like a kya bolte hain se, hand baggage, which was another 10 kgs. So it was a lot of weight, and in Europe you don't have, obviously taking taxis is not a thing because you only take it in extreme situations because they're very expensive. So we are taking trains, we are doing a lot of public transportation and bags utha ke ghoom rahe har jagah. And then I realized that, oh shit, I messed up. So yeah, it's one of those things you learn from your mistakes. And I think what I'm doing now is a big change from that, because what happened was that we were doing this trip. We came to the Nordic countries first, Denmark and Finland. Then we went to UK. Then from there, we flew to US because we wanted to attend WrestleMania, which was like a huge event.
What?
Yes,
so you could attend WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine we went from this part of the world to the other very different longitude rather altogether. Very fluctuating time zones, and the only reason we went to the US also because WrestleMania ki tickets already booked thi pehle advance mein, maine use bahut pehle book kar diya tha, so we wanted to make it there also. So all in all, it was a pretty messy plan, and in between that I came to know I had applied for the 90-day fin program, which is where I am right now, and in between I came to know that I got selected for this. So I'll talk about this program also in a bit, but this program allows me to come live in Helsinki for 90 days, which is like a 3-month duration, and then decide if I want to relocate over here. Now, that is a different thing altogether, but
wow.
Having a base and what you're doing right now is, I think, ideal because you just pick one country where you want to make a base and then travel around. And I think that is a better situation. What I ended up doing in my excitement was doing a lot of things in a very short duration. And I think that wasn't ideal with a lot of luggage, especially.
And if I can say that with the most respect, this is even after you being a career traveler, right? Like this is after all your experience, right? Nothing against you, but it just shows that just the क्या बोलते हैं, ये एक तरह से पेंडोरा's बॉक्स खोलने वाली चीज है कि आपके पास वो अधिकार है या फ्रीडम है ना, तो इंसान को लगता है सब कुछ कर लूं.
Exactly.
I think the only reason I did this, and 2 दिन आने से पहले भी मेरे एक दोस्त ने मेरे को बोला, he's very well traveled. He's like, क्या स्पेन जा रहा है, गरीबों का देश है, कुछ है भी वहां पे, यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ गोरे आते हैं दारू पीने के लिए, तू इटली जाकर तेरे को आर्ट हिस्ट्री में इंटरेस्ट है, इतनी पुरानी हिस्ट्री, एंड ही इज राइट.
Yeah,
बट
yeah.
देन आई डिड सम प्रोस एंड कॉन्स एंड आई रियलाइज्ड अब मेरे पास 1.5 महीने का है, मतलब यू नो लाइक वीजा तो 4 महीने का है, बट आई कैन टेक्निकली ओनली स्टे फॉर 60 days, राइट, एज
Yeah,
Schengen
correct.
norms dictate. So do I really want to do Spain and Italy and divide it up, and then Spanish थोड़ी सीखनी शुरू करूंगा, and then I all of a sudden go to Italy, and then Italy के अंदर कहाँ pick करूं? So then, thanks to this book that I keep reading again and again, Vagabonding, the art of long term travel, slow travel. उसने बोला कि एक कंट्री लो और वहां पे 6 हफ्ते 6 महीने या 2 साल बिताओ. So you will have the kind of depth that is needed, as opposed to trying to like touch base everywhere. तो वो मैं फॉलो करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, एंड ऑनेस्टली द डेज हैव बीन लॉट रिलैक्स. मेरे को 5 दिन हो गए, मैंने थोड़ा देखा है, but I don't feel the rush. So the
Yeah.
fact that you're now choosing to at least experiment with Helsinki and stuff, I wanted to ask ki, how did you make this happen? Is it because पहले extensive travel experience था, या किसी न्यूज़लेटर में अप्लाई कर रखा है जहां उन्होंने बताया ये सीक्रेट अपॉर्चुनिटी है, आप इससे फायदा ले लो? Like how did you end up like being invited?
Okay, so two things. I think I agree personally on this approach that slow traveling is amazing. And while I always knew that, and I knew ki, oh, I want to do this, but somehow, a lot of क्या बोलते हैं, you just want to, as a traveler, I always want to travel more, and I don't enjoy being in one place for too long, and that's kind of a problem. But I was also always kind of thinking of ki, oh, I want to make a few different bases all over the world. And I think even when we talked about this last time, we kind of touched upon this ki, oh, the ideal way of traveling should be that you just have a few bases, especially if you want to be a global citizen sort of. So I was always looking at these kind of opportunities ki kahan pe main ja sakti hu, and I considered a lot of places like Australia, Dubai. Dubai is a great place for a lot of businesses and for even content creators like us, but somehow I just find it as charming as inviting to, for me personally. I feel like
it's literally a desert oasis. There is no history there.
I know. There's no history. It's all created from scratch. And okay, fine, tax saving benefits and all are there. And you don't, of course, we all know that. But to me, it still felt like this is not the kind of lifestyle I want. I want my lifestyle to be very nature oriented and a place which is also very sustainable in its approach, very nature driven. So Australia is also a great option for that. And then I thought of the Nordic countries because their philosophy of life is also very nature oriented.
Happy countries also.
Yeah, very happy countries also. So ठीक है, यहाँ पे taxes are insane, like 45% taxes, okay? But people get a lot of benefits for such taxes. I mean, I was just talking to a girl yesterday who is a Finn, and she was telling me she has a 6-year-old child, and she was telling me that, oh, यहाँ पे कितने सारे maternity benefits हैं, like you get full maternity leave, and plus the government sends you a box when you have a child, like a welcoming box sort of with all clothes, all kinds of goodies, everything for a year for the child, and for school education is free. I mean, not that I'm planning kids or anything, but just something that she told me that seemed like a really good initiative by the government. All medical is free for the mother. Your dental is free, everything. So you get a lot of perks for those kind of taxes, and plus people are generally really happy here, and it shows. And yahan pe pata something very strange that happens only in Finland that I've come to know. People over here have a 1 month holiday. Everybody, all working professionals, even the heads of states, the government, the month of July and even some parts of August are like a 1 month break for the country. Nothing happens, no businesses, nothing, no schools. So जैसे हमें बचपन में summer break मिलती थी ना, that also extends to all people, all nationals, and people just go into their summer homes, their lodges, and they have a 1 month relaxing vacation without any work. They don't do anything, and they just forage for mushrooms and berries and live the summer life. Can you imagine that? I mean,
that's insane.
Where in the world can that happen?
And that's mandated by the state, like mandated leisure. आपको जाना ही जाना है.
Yes, correct. Everybody. And because it's an off, no businesses are running in that period. Nothing is running in that period.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And the way I came across this opportunity was because when I was doing my research in the Nordic countries initially at the start of the year, I came to know about this program because I was following the Finnish ambassador to India on Twitter. And I came to know about this because there was a post about the 90-day Fin program. And I was like, oh shit, I was anyway looking for opportunities of, becoming a local somewhere. So this seemed like a great opportunity. And what this program essentially is that they invite people from all over the world to apply for it. And primarily people who have some sort of business. So, for example, my business is content creation and social media. So I'm also eligible. And 16 people from all over the world got selected for it. And people who are here, they're from all kinds of nationalities, US citizens, Italians, then we have Japanese people. So we are 16 people from all over the world and who are just here looking for whether or not this is a good fit for us to relocate our business or to form a business subsidiary for us.
And you're all staying in the same place?
So we can choose wherever we want to live, and we were providing some housing options. Ki aap yahan reh sakte ho, wahan reh sakte ho, and these are the rents, this is the structure. And they helped us with the relocation and the visa processes, and there was somebody in place for helping with that. And even in future, they'll provide us consultancy. And they're organizing a lot of networking events with people of our field. For example, I have been given a local friend, and she's also a content creator from Finland. So she's the one who's telling me about all these benefits that you get. And I can basically just ask her questions like, yahan pe aap kitne commercials charge karte ho? Like, if I have so and so many followers, what can I charge? Like any kind of question. Or how does living in Finland benefit me? What can I do? What can I do over the weekends? Where can I create content? Which tourism board should I connect with? Anything, any question that I have, I can just ask her. Or if I just want somebody to hang out with, I can just talk to her. Plus, I have somebody who's associated with me from Helsinki Partners who is organizing this program. So any kind of business networking questions that I have, they can help me with it. Any kind of taxation questions I have, they can help me with that. If I want them to arrange a meeting for me with somebody, I want like, okay, Finnair is an airline. I want you to arrange a meeting for me with somebody who's from Finnair so that I can potentially seek business. So they can help with that. So all of that. And I think that's great because where else can you find that kind of connections in a different country?
Damn, bro, that's very crazy. Two things that come from there. Number one, I like the fact that you have a duplex Airbnb. Duplex क्या क्या बोलेंगे इसको जो high wall वाला होता है ये? Because I noticed. Correct. So the bed is propped up just like this, right? ऊपर एक.
Or housing situation also looks similar.
Yeah, look, no, this is where the bed is at. Up there.
Ah, cool. So mine is also similar. So that is where the bed is at.
I think what I love about these Airbnbs is that you can have a very almost 5-star-esque apartment in a tiny space. Ye mere ko loft style living is something I've come to love. Because usually bedroom ka alag jagah hoti hai, usme 36 cheezein hoti hain, it's near the street. But having like a loft is very cool. That's number one. I'm definitely, maintaining this model. मैंने एक दिल्ली में एक जगह है मस्जिद मोड़, वहां पे एक बंदे का देखा था मैंने लॉफ्ट, and he was hosting a party there and I was blown away. इंडिया में कम लोग करते हैं. It can only be done on the terrace, I think. That's number
correct.
one. Number second, so I noticed on Instagram you were with this lady जिसने एक अपने बायो में लिखा हुआ था फिनिश कोच. एंड मैं स्पेन आया हूँ और यहाँ पे स्पेनिश कोचेस भी एग्जिस्ट करते हैं जो आपकी स्पेन में ट्रांजिशन में हेल्प कराते हैं. So I thought, number one, what a crazy interesting way to monetize, like transition, because it's so important. Like particularly expats and people who are considering settling there from not like a blue collar standpoint, where a genuine like एक business setup करना है, उस standpoint से उनके लिए बहुत helpful होंगे. So are you working with this person?
Yes. She's my local friend basically. So she's the content creator and Finnish coach. So she also teaches Finnish. And I think that'll be great for me because I can learn something from her. Because Finnish is a very complicated language. It doesn't have the same kind of language structure as most other languages. For example, you only use one word to describe a full sentence. So if I'm saying I'm traveling in a car, I don't know the exact word for it in Finnish, but she told me a little bit about it. But if I have to say I'm going in a car, there's just one word to express this sentence. So the verbs and everything are all integrated in the same word, which is why it's very complicated. And that's why translation is also very complicated.
Yeah. That's crazy. नहीं, इस मुकाबले में स्पेनिश तो बहुत आसान लग रही है देखने में.
Spanish.
It's a very derivative language.
But how are you learning Spanish?
Yeah, I'm struggling honestly because I had two options. एक तो ये है कि go to a language school and do an intensive course for basically 5 hours per day for weekdays, and you quickly acquire all facets. तो मैंने सोचा यार मैं वो करूंगा, मैं पूरे दिन, अब मैं अगर 5-6 घंटे पढ़ाई कर रहा हूँ स्पेनिश की, सो आई थिंक आई वोंट बी एबल टू गेट बाय एज मच एज आई वांट, बिकॉज सुबह 9 से लेके शाम के 5 तक आई एम जस्ट इन द क्लास, एंड देन आई गॉट एन एक्सपेरिमेंट एंड प्रैक्टिस. Like you, I also have a content creation business and I have a podcast consulting business. मैं वो कब करूंगा, मैं स्पेन कब
Yeah,
देखूंगा.
correct.
So I have this book by this guy called Benny Lewis, and in fact he's the prominent polyglot in the world. No, इसमें कोई advertising नहीं, मैं बस दिखा रहा हूँ. It's called language hacking. तो उसने हर country के लिए बना रखी है. So the idea is you become fluent in 3 months, and
Okay.
he optimizes it in a way कि आप you can speak from the first day. तो मैंने थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ना शुरू करा, ढंग से नहीं करा, बट थोड़े थोड़े वर्ड्स पता लग गए. तो आई वुड स्टार्ट कॉन्वर्सेशंस विद ओला,
Conversations.
नॉट गिव माय नेम येट, बट जस्ट फिगर आउट कि ग्रोसरीज कहाँ मिलनी है, क्या करना है, थोड़ा 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 थोड़ा. एंड इफ आई कांट, आई जस्ट से नो habla español, एंड देन तो बट आई फाउंड इट ओके. फर्स्ट फ्यू डेज आई वाज लाइक डैम, मैंने क्या गलती कर ली है. आई थॉट कि स्पेनिश एक बड़ी आराम से आ जाएगी लैंग्वेज. ऐसी बात नहीं है. इन्फर कर लेना चीजों को और बोल लेने में बहुत फर्क होता है. क्योंकि
Yeah, correct.
आप ऐसे अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हो, अच्छा इसमें लिखा है रेवोलूला रेवोलूस रेवोल्यूशन को लिखा हुआ है स्पेनिश में, तो तुम समझ जाते हो कि ये वो है, सिमिलर वर्ड है. बट जब फुल सेंटेंसेस आते हैं और तुम बोलते हो कि दे का मतलब क्या है, पारा का मतलब क्या है, तो सोचते हो डैम यार, तो इतना भी आसान नहीं था मैंने सोचा था.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
बट
Also, the speed and accent at which people in which people speak, that is also very
या
variable. Like, Spanish has so many different accents all over the world, and also the way people speak, they're very fast in their
या
diction and
so
speech. So
स्पेन वाली स्पेनिश इज द फास्टेस्ट एवर इन द वर्ल्ड.
correct.
तो
Yeah.
बहुत मुश्किल है लर्न करनी.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm doing right now, and it's kind of working out. I just need to get more disciplined. अगर इस हफ्ते और discipline नहीं ला पाया मैं, if I don't sort of build the plan that he's saying that I build, I will go to the language school. That's my plan.
That's a great plan. Yeah. So you want to learn Spanish. I mean, you basically want to someday, let's say, relocate to Spain or Spanish speaking country. Is that the objective?
I would like to have the opportunity to be more than just an English speaker. क्योंकि मेरे को, I just from a volume standpoint, if you think about it, I was looking at it. Italian is the 12th largest language in the world, which is not too much. Spanish is the second largest. It used to be English, but Spanish took it over. क्योंकि English speakers कितनी countries में हैं, हाँ हर कोई थोड़ा थोड़ा समझता है. But then you've got 30 countries that speak Spanish in the world, right? And that is a lot. There's a lot of Latin America. ठीक है, Spain वगैरह है, एक दो जगह और है. But I just figured if someday I want to do business with people who speak Spanish, I will always have an edge. And मेरे को personally ऐसा लगता है that your personality or identity takes on new hats, or you become a different person when you start, progressing in a language. Like I'm sure because you travel abroad so much, जिस तरह से तेरी इंग्लिश ऑटोमेटिकली और ज्यादा रिफाइन हुई होगी, and you started thinking in the language, it's sort of added new facets to your personality that maybe Hindi speaking Tanya would not have had. Would you agree with that?
Probably. I haven't potentially thought of that as much, but I think you're kind of right in the sense that when you can interact in a certain language, it gives you newer ideas also, because just having that access to what people share with you in a different country and their kind of lifestyle and how they interact with you and how they share that and communicate that also has an impact on how you process things and how you sort of act in your own life thereafter. So
Right.
I think you're right that way. Ki some ideas you can only get from a certain country and certain people, and how they speak and communicate those ideas with you.
I'm pretty sure अगर कोई linguist intercultural differences study करेंगे, you can sort of figure out like everyday conversations में आप ये country के लोग आपसे क्या बात करते हैं और मतलब बाहर के लोग आपसे क्या बात करते हैं, and you'll see that they're massively different. Have you? Yeah.
Even Spanish for that as an example, I was doing a walking tour in Peru last year, and the guide over there was from Venezuela, and he was a Spanish speaker, and he spoke Spanish to us in so many different accents. Like we just asked him, how many accents can you speak in? And he counted the accents that, oh, this is from this country, this is from this country, this is from Spain. And he gave us a full accent download, and he spoke the same things in different accents. And it was so fascinating that, oh, even Spanish is such a vast language. And I wonder how people in, say, for example, Peru or Spain speak the same language, but they're so different. So their cultural nitty-gritties are so different, even though they speak the same language. So I think ho jata hai. There's a very vast variation, and language has a role to play.
100%. I think it's also the same with Hindi, Bhojpuri, Hindi, Lucknowi Hindi, बहुत सारी तरह की Hindis होती हैं, although we call them dialects, but it still holds true. So I want to ask you this. Now that you're in Finland, this is particularly like a selfish way to seek advice about what to do in a new country. I'm pretty extroverted. I go out and meet people, right? First few days I was a little held back because I figured, यार मेरे को Spanish में ही बोलना है, and I realized मेरे को Spanish आती नहीं है. And हर किसी को English आती नहीं है, right? That's one of the first things you realize. Now, is Helsinki a place where they all understand English? And have you encountered places where they don't understand English previously in your travels? And in those cases, what is like your toolkit or hacks of, getting by, or even like maybe bonding with the locals?
I think, so particularly Helsinki, I think everybody speaks English here, and I haven't had a language issue so far. But I think it does make a difference when you're doing business with somebody and if you're able to speak the language, it's just easier to blend in. I faced a lot of trouble in Peru last year when it came to speaking Spanish. And that is when I made a resolve that next time I travel to a South American, Latin American country, I have to learn Spanish because it's so important to just be a part of a certain culture if you know the language. So over there, I got by learning few basic phrases that I have very conveniently forgotten now. But just a few basic phrases of how are you doing? How are you? How's your day going? I hope you have a good day. Hi, my name is Tanya. All of that, all those basic phrases to get by and just have a basic, at least exchange pleasantries with people. And gestures. I was doing a hike and I came across a few people. I got separated from my group for a bit and I was just looking for a toilet. So I ventured out and got on another trail and then came across a lady who only spoke Spanish. So with her, I was just exchanging gestures. She had a huge place where she kept a lot of animals like rabbits and all. And I was standing over there and she gave me some grass to feed the rabbits. So, I mean, we just got by gestures, smiling at each other. And I asked her what her name was. She asked me what my name was. And at least being able to have that basic conversation. And then I could also ask her, where's the toilet? Because I knew the word for toilet, which again, I'm very conveniently
Banyo,
forgot.
It's called banyo.
Banyo, yes. Oh, yes. That's it. So banyo, I asked her, banyo kahan hai? And as we kind of had like a basic exchange of conversation. But I think, it would have been much better if I could actually speak the language, because in some places I was like, for example, in a shared cab. And I was sitting in the middle of a shared cab. There is a gentleman on my left, on my right. They are carrying a lot of their saman going to the market. And I'm sitting over there in the middle and thinking, okay, ab kya baat karoon main inse? It's a very confusing situation. And then they asked me a few things and I was like, sorry, mujhe nahi pata. What are you saying? And then they were like, okay, why are you even here then? Like they kind of was apparent on their face that why are you even here then if you can't speak and talk to us? So yeah, I think it's much better knowing the language.
So yesterday, I mean, now I'm thinking about all the things that have happened. I struggle with the language. So obviously, as you know, when you live in a place for a longer time, you don't eat out all the time. Number one, for your gut. Number two, it's expensive. Number three, you just want to have a predictable routine. Mein kya khana kha raha hu. You want to control your diet. So I was like, okay, great. I eat tons of meat at home, so I'm going to go buy some meat. अब मैं supermarket गया. अब मैं उसका पहले वो स्पेनिश वर्ड ढूंढ रहा हूँ, क्या है उस चीज का जो मेरे को चाहिए, बट उसके बर्गर बन्स मिल रहे हैं उस मीट के सिर्फ. लाइक ओह व्हाट डू आई डू नाउ? सो देन आई फिगर्ड कि बुचर तो होगा यहाँ पे. सो मैं बुचर के पास गया. द बुचर प्लेस वाज रन बाय बांग्लादेशीज. मैं उनसे इंग्लिश में बात कर रहा हूँ. अरे आप हिंदी बोल लो. लाइक ओह माय गॉड, थैंक गॉड उनको हिंदी आती है. सो आई फाइनली गॉट इट.
रिलीफ, नो?
Yeah, it felt like okay, अब मैं थोड़ा और समझा सकता हूँ क्लियरली कि मुझे क्या चाहिए. Like I could then say कि अब इसका आप कीमा बना दो. अच्छा, मेरे को अब ये लिवर चाहिए, मेरे को 250 ग्राम चाहिए. Like a few things got easier, but then that's okay. हाँ, a few things got easier. It got me wondering कि यार जो लोग बोलते हैं ना लैंग्वेज लर्निंग के लिए कि आप एक महीने पहले सीख के आओ, I think they make a little sense. So when you travel to these places, Spanish countries, for example, there must be other countries as well. You've gone to tons of countries. Do you have like a toolkit कि यार अब वहाँ के phrases में अभी से ही 10 दिन पहले से रट लेती हूँ या फिर I'll keep in a note somewhere that'll be helpful? What do you do
Yeah.
to prepare?
I at least learn the basic, very, very basic words. So in Finland, I think I haven't really done that because I will have some language tutoring over here. But yes, if I'm visiting a place with the intention of tourism, I will learn a few phrases, and then I always very extensively use Google Translate. And also lens hota hai, because if you go to a supermarket and if you just want to see कि क्या क्या लेना है, उसमें ingredients क्या है, इसमें sugars तो नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. So I use the translate lens very extensively, I think, and that really helps. So
Google Translate as a lens?
Yeah, it has a camera lens, and you just open the lens option and you place it over the product and you snap a picture and it gives you the translation of everything. Vinamre, it's amazing. You should try it in Spain.
मैं वहां पे गूगल ट्रांसलेट को खोल के गूगल की विंडो के अंदर क्रोम के अंदर एन कारना पिकादा मतलब क्या है भाई. Yeah, that's why you're the best at this stuff. You have all these mini hacks that can actually make a huge difference in someone's travel experience. I will definitely try that. मैं पता है कैसे मैं आइल्स के बीच में मायूस से घूम रहा हूँ. अब जो वर्कर्स हैं उन्हें भी नहीं आती तो वो बोलते नो हावला इंग्लिश, मैं बोलता हूँ नो हावला स्पेनियोल. भाई कर लो मौज, घर आ जाओ, मंगवाओ इनके जोमेटो से फिर ग्लोबो यहाँ पे. Anyway.
No, but try this. I will show it to you right now. It's very, very convenient. एक second, हाँ. मेरा Google Translate offloaded है. Wait, जब हो जाएगा मैं तेरे को दिखाऊंगी.
No
But
stress,
it's very
no stress.
convenient. And you just place the camera on top of the product and it will give you the proper translation of everything, even the ingredients, even the packaging details, even the manufacturing date, everything.
आज मैं जाऊंगा सबसे ज्यादा डीप स्पेनिश हार्ट के अंदर और वहां से लेके आऊंगा. Okay,
do that.
talking about hybrid stays, I think this is an important topic. I'm here for a long time. I do realize that if I, go and invest in luxury Airbnbs for 2 months, मेरा 10-12 लाख का बिल आ सकता है.
Of
right?
course. Very,
So,
very likely.
Right, very likely. So because now you're also doing long travel, I mean, with you it's a little different because you plan thoroughly. In a 15-day trip, in a 20-day trip, or even a 10-day trip, what is your philosophy for hybridizing your stays? क्योंकि कभी मैंने देखा you sometimes go to a homestay, sometimes you have a hotel, sometimes you figure out like a content creator deal. Like how do you make sure कि मेरे budget के अंदर सारी चीजें हैं and I get the best of all worlds?
Okay, so see, firstly, though, when I'm using my content creator perks, I will obviously look at the best kind of properties, collaborations, which I can kind of, which are very experiential in their nature. Because when I came to Finland last time, I collaborated with a company, not a company, like rather a hotel chain called Kakslautnen, which is very famous, has a lot of PR to it, and they extensively also work with content creators. So that is very experiential in its nature because it's known for, they have these igloo stays, and from there you can see the northern lights. So it has a definite charm to it in terms of this is something worth presenting. When I'm booking my own stays, I will look at two things. One is the location and how conveniently they're located next to the supermarket, just from the living standpoint, how are they located, and obviously the price also. So I'll put a price filter, then I'll also put a location filter.
Question. How important is city center for you?
Yeah, to be honest, depends from place to place. Just say if you're in a place for a very short period, then obviously choosing a city center would make sense because the extra amount that you spend in booking that place, you can save on, let's say, taking a taxi or renting a car. But if you're in a place for a longer period, then it makes sense that you don't exactly are bang in the center. Just say, I'm here. And the neighborhood that I'm staying in is called Yatkasari, which is not the best in terms of ekdam bang on city center mein nahi hai, but it's like a 15-20 minute walk to the city center. And if I want to go to the city center for grabbing something, shopping, or just enjoying the vibe, I can just walk there, I can bike there. And the important things here are ki grocery is very close by, then a cycle stand is very close by, so things that I would need to transfer, and also the tram station is right in front of my place. So I think those things are more important in a longer stay. Hold on for a second.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. So
That's
these
it.
are the things that I will look at. Ki if I'm for a longer stay, and even while booking an Airbnb, even if you're okay, short stays, maybe if you want to save some extra money, it's always a good idea that you stay thoda sa away from the city center. I'll give you an example with London. So when I booked a stay in London, I just saw ki kaun si metro lines, or rather the tube lines, are close by. And if I can go to the city center conveniently, and how long will it take from the transportation? But I don't need to be at the city center, because city center wale jo jitne bhi King's Cross वगैरह पे जितने भी
Yeah.
Airbnbs होंगे, going to be extremely expensive, probably
300,
like
400
20,000
pounds
a
per
night.
night. 100%.
Right. So it doesn't make sense.
Damn. Yeah. My sister stays slightly on the outskirts of London, and I realized उसके वहाँ पे रहने का benefit क्या है. वहाँ के Airbnb भी सस्ते थे, because I think जब Wimbledon हो रहा था मैं तब गया उस time पे, and we were just
Oh,
looking at
nice.
some hotels there, my family and I, and for a shitty ass 2-star hotel also, you had to pay 200 pounds per night. So it was a lot if you think about it. And another thing that I realized is that we don't realize how good we have it in India and like some of the South Asian countries in terms of price. और आपको price में क्या क्या
Prices are
मिलता है.
amazing. Exactly.
यहाँ पे per night rate is through the roof and for very little. I don't know why that is in Europe, so you really have to figure out ways to compromise in certain ways. Like, I'm really envious of the fact that you're living in this very luxurious stay. Are you staying here for the entire 3 months?
Yeah, entire 3 months. So it's booked through and through. And I think the best part is that when you book longer stays, the price comes down a little bit. So वो थोड़ा सा हो जाता है. I think
Of course.
when you what about you? How did you decide on this place that you're staying at in Spain?
Same, because I had to shoot some ads. I'm going to shoot some ads and take some calls and record some content, right? I realized that if I go to a hybrid situation too soon, like if I go to a really nice hostel, creation is going to be a little bit challenging. क्योंकि मेरे को किसी business center में जाके I figured out co-working spaces. I can rent out a conference room for like 50 pounds or something for 4 or 5 hours and do it like that. That is something that's possible, but तो मैंने सोचा कि इस वजह से I'll just stay here. Now अब मेरे को लालच आया कि मैं ऐसे ही कंटिन्यू करता रहूं. So I just have to adjust. But I wanted to ask you something else, because I am traveling with a camera, a tripod, लैपटॉप है मेरे पास, ये माइक है.
माइक ऑफ कोर्स. हाँ,
ठीक है. मैंने अपना सबसे बड़ा सेटअप नहीं लेके आया. मैं निम्बल सेटअप लाया हूँ. आधा सेटअप घर पे छोड़ के आया हूँ. ठीक है. एंड मैं उनसे जबरदस्ती बोलता हूँ उस पे फ्रेजाइल का स्टिकर लगाओ. और जब वो वापस आया तो उस पे फ्रेजाइल का स्टिकर नहीं लगा हुआ था. But I pack it well. You travel with 10x more equipment than I do, because
correct. YouTube, podcast, all of that.
Cinematic footage वगैरह सब कुछ, मतलब मैंने देखा है ना, the kind of stuff that you do, right? So you have tons of electronics. Now let me ask you this: क्या क्या electronics होते हैं at a time with which you're traveling, right? And second, how much of these go in the checked-in baggage? How much of these go in a hand baggage that then you manually open in front of everyone at the security lines?
So I think most of it goes in hand baggage, because I have this one suitcase kind of a situation जिसमें wheels भी हैं, and it has like a drag करने वाला system.
उसमें compartments हैं?
उसमें compartments हैं, हाँ. So it has compartments, and that is where I hold most of the heavy and fragile stuff, because I don't want to check it in. Because baggage loss is also a very major issue in Europe, especially. So I will never prefer putting. Yeah, it's a very major issue. So baggage loss, and मिलता भी नहीं है कई बार, delay हो जाता है बहुत ज़्यादा. So with equipment, I just don't want to take that risk. So I always use hand baggage for that. And what will go in my checked-in luggage is all the cables, chargers, not the phone charger, which I may need handy, but all the other chargers, long cables. Just as you have this podcast ka arm, mic ka arm, the mic also maybe can go in the check-in, because uska cost फिर भी बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है. But this time when I came to Finland, I have 2 cameras, I have a laptop, I have दो drones हैं. So most of it will go into the handbag. The drone cannot go in the handbag. So that's the only issue. कि मुझे जो drone होता है, battery वगैरह disconnect करके, I have to pack it in the check-in. So that and the cables and all will. So this very nice package that Ishan bought recently, which is like for all kinds of cables and everything. So you can just keep all cables and everything organized in it like this. And this is what will go in the check-in. And
for people listening, just a sec. For people listening, ये बहुत एक elaborate baggage है. इसको आपको देखने के लिए YouTube पे भी देखना पड़ेगा. हाँ.
Exactly. So this has all the cables, all the chargers, and
nice.
It's So yeah, for everybody listening, it's like a small bag with all kinds of compartments and partitions. Just mean you can just keep all your chargers and everything.
It's
So
like a
that is a very
toiletry bag for electronics.
electronics. Yeah.
Huh.
So essentially, it's that.
So have you ever had equipment loss or damage as a consequence of traveling so much with these things?
Yeah, fortunately, so far, no. I just once lost my one SSD, which was the worst ever that happened to me because it was a 2 terabyte
Arre.
and it had some very, very important content in it, and I lost it. It happened in Jaipur, and I think somebody stole it from my bag. So that is the only
hard disk की चोरी ये किस तरह का जमाना आ गया है?
I know, right? And that too an SSD. So SSDs are essentially, I think if somebody did take it out of my bag because it was kept inside a very, concealed kind of a compartment. So having lost it by just dropping it seems unlikely. So I think it was theft, my best guess is, but it just went missing out of blue. And that's the only thing that went missing in my complete experience of 5 years of traveling. I've never lost other luggage and I'm very, very, very careful about my stuff in general. And Spain में तो मुझे बहुत डर लगेगा. If I am in Spain, I'll be very careful. So I think I'll advise you also to be careful.
Why is that?
Spain is a very big hotbed for pickpocketing and thefts. No, like I have also heard of experiences where people lost things from their Airbnb. They just had people break in and steal their stuff. So be careful.
Wow, great advertisement for Spain, bro. So I think because of that, मेरे Airbnb में एक इतनी weird चीज है कि ये phone से ही खुलता है.
Ah, right.
So you can't open it through anything else. There's something called a Nuki app. उस ऐप से पहले आपको इंटीग्रेट करना है, फिर आप बाहर आओगे, फिर आप उस पर स्वाइप करोगे तो वो खोलेगा मेन डोर अपार्टमेंट की बिल्डिंग का. यहाँ पे आने के लिए इट्स कीपैड एक्सेस. सो आई थिंक they understand that this is common, so they've kind of sorted it out. But yeah, it's my dad gave me this advice कि अपने सारे कार्ड्स एक साथ लैपटॉप में मत ले, उसके वॉलेट में मत लेके जाओ. मैं सबको एक साथ लेके जा रहा था. It's like अपना keep one card and a few like whatever euros that you need. I was like, oh damn, I had no idea.
Also carry like a fanny bag if you don't already. I know some people find it tacky, but it's very important. I do not ever travel without a fanny pack because it just keeps everything in front of you. So your wallet, your passport, everything can be safe. And don't ever carry a back. Don't put your things in a backpack. Jaise ki backpacks are very prone to theft because people can just snatch it. And if you leave it next to you on a chair or something, it can easily go away. So in countries like France, Italy, Spain, you have to be very careful about theft, especially.
Damn, I was, it's so funny. क्या telepathy है. मैं इससे पहले I was trying to find a fanny pack, but फिर मेरे को आना पड़ा. This is my mission in this country to immediately find a fanny pack. Because I think it's otherwise I have a laptop bag or this other big bag that I carry, which is not useful. Talking more about electronics, ठीक है? तो I saw in a reel that you said मेरे को 10,000 चीजें charge करनी होती हैं to really make all of this work. Okay, as a creator, you're on the road, Tanya. You don't always have good Wi-Fi. You have to upload reels, you have to upload full-fledged videos, और 36 तरह के content आते तेरे बहुत जगह से. So how do you do it?
Okay, I think I only upload when I have good Wi-Fi. Right before shooting this podcast, I just uploaded a reel, and I do it at sometimes even odd hours. But yeah, for a lot of content posting, I do have a remote team. So, जैसे कि LinkedIn, Instagram बोल रही हूँ. हाँ, Instagram के लिए भी actually I do have a person who can post on my behalf. Sometimes I do it myself. So a team of 2-3 people who help me with all kinds of content posting. And Wi-Fi, though, I try and see कि कहाँ पे अच्छा मिलेगा, and I try and look for. So that's why when it comes to your stay, it's very important that you also pick out good Wi-Fi. And I think somewhere down my content creation journey, I figured out that hostels and these kind of stays don't work for me because एक तो बहुत सारे equipment होता है. You're always constantly worried कि कुछ चोरी ना हो जाए. Although I'm not suggesting कि चोरी होगा hostel में से or they're hotbeds for theft, but
you're prone to it, no? Because you have all this valuable stuff. Unlike
correct,
other
and you
people,
have to be careful. So you have to be careful, and plus अगर चीजें रखनी है, you need space also for keeping those things. So an Airbnb or an apartment kind of a situation works best for me, which also has Wi-Fi and has space to keep things. जैसे कि equipment कहाँ रखना है, tripod कहाँ खड़ा करना है, and if it's also aesthetic looking, then you can obviously shoot from any location. कि कहीं पे भी शुरू हो जाओ लेके कि this video, this reel that you want to post. So you have to also look at that. So I think you've also done a good job at picking your location, because since you're shooting ad content, you also look at the aesthetics of the place, ki neat dikhe, ऐसे खराब ना दिखे, and it doesn't look like a packed place.
ऐसे नहीं ना पीछे ग्राफिटी बनी हुई है और कोई भी मेरे को चाकू दिखा रहा हो सामने से. You don't want to have that.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing. So I noticed that India mein you stayed in a homestay in Tawang, if I'm not wrong. And I've only stayed in homestays briefly. I think एक बार बस मैंने लद्दाख में I did it. Now there is this website called homestay.com that operates here in Europe, and very reasonable prices. You can stay with a Spanish family, right? So I was just wondering, what is your experience of homestays like? Whether that's national and abroad, and जो भी हमने benefits discuss करे हैं of having your own space and shooting and all of that, do those go away? Like,
I don't particularly think so. And I think it's a very good cultural experience to stay in a homestay. In fact, if I can find a good homestay, I would probably prefer that even more than an apartment. Okay, apartment gives you a good space and everything. But if you just want to have a good cultural exchange of experiences, then there's nothing like living with a local family, because not only can they tell you great things about the place itself and some of the really hidden places, but they'll also tell you of what their lifestyle is like. And I think, isn't that the whole point of traveling in the first place, is being curious about other people and their lifestyle? So at least when I'm traveling in India, it's very big on my priority ki I look for homestays only. Because especially in the northeast, I feel like they have some of the best homestays. And because northeast of India is so underrepresented in their culture, a homestay is a very good way of just understanding somebody's lifestyle, what they eat, what they shop for, where do they go do grocery, where do they hang out, do they have kids, what is their family like. So I think it's always a better exchange of culture when
and have you done it abroad?
Unfortunately, not really, because I feel like in abroad it's very less common as compared to India. Matlab, very few places that have that kind of a culture where they allow people to come stay in their homes. I think from what I've previously only heard of, एक couch surfing hota hai, which is common.
I've seen couch surfing. I just always find it too sketch for some reason.
Yeah, me too. Whenever I've looked for couch surfing options, and I even deleted the app somewhere down the line, only these really shady men who are like, and they even write in their bios looking for women only. And I'm like, man, that's so sketchy.
The weirdest of all was probably I was looking at couch surfing only, and एक बंदे ने बोला एक बार मैंने डिस्क्रिप्शन ढंग से पढ़ लेना, तो मैंने कहा क्या सीन है ऐसा. Then in the end it said nudist couch surfers only, और उसको रेटिंग मिली हुई थी 4.8 stars. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, I think where a third party enforcement या फिर regulation हट जाती है ना, जहाँ पे लोग अपना घर ऐसे प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं फ्री में, that is where like the real risk starts.
I'd rather pay and have a nice exchange of service than go and stay at somebody's place for free, because then you're obliged to do things.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And I don't know why. Maybe people are comfortable with it also. And no judgments there. If somebody's okay with like a nudist host and they want that kind of an experience, go for it. But for me personally, I don't think that sits right. And yeah, why would I want that? For
unnecessarily.
If I'm not comfortable with it. Unnecessarily. Oh, by the way, I did have a homestay experience in abroad also. I just remembered in the US. So I stayed with a Japanese family in the US, and I think that was a really good experience as well. It was a very small surfers town in California where I stayed with a family. So I think that was probably one of my only homestay particularly experience.
Japanese Americans ke saath, very cool.
Japanese Americans ke saath, yeah.
And what was that like? Well, obviously उनका घर तो normal होगा, not like the houses you see in Doraemon or like the typical Tokyo house दिखाते हैं.
It was actually very Japanese in nature because it was very silent and very peaceful. They had a kid at that point of time who's now grown potentially. So very young kid and had a lot of toys all over. So it was a very homely kind of an experience. And they had two friends over and they bought Japanese beer from the supermarket. So we could try their Japanese beer and some sake. And the gentleman who of the house, he used to work at a Japanese restaurant nearby. And the wife was on a maternity leave. So it was a very homely kind of an experience of living with a family, and just I also tried at least to cook an Indian meal for them. So that was an exchange of culture. Ki I could stay there and experience what Japanese Americans are doing in their life, and I could give them a slice of Indian culture. So I think that was pretty cool.
अगर आपको कॉलेज आपको exchange program में नहीं भेज रहा है, make your own, even if for a week.
For sure. Exactly. So yeah, I think for me, it's very important that I always make local friends, because what ends up happening at times is that if you're staying only in hostels, you meet people from a lot of other nationalities, yes, but they are other nationalities. They're not the locals of that country, because मुझे बहुत ऐसे कम experiences मिले हैं where I found locals of a certain country in hostels. So I think for me, it's more valuable that if I'm in Finland, I meet more Finnish people just to understand their lifestyle. Instead of only hanging out with, let's say, Indians, because while that's well within my comfort zone, and it's so nice speaking Hindi abroad, and it's so nice getting to eat Indian food, and I definitely want to meet more Indians here and have an Indian community, but I also want to relish what the Finnish culture is like. So today I'm actually going for a birthday party, which is like hanging out with Finns, and it's somebody's 30th birthday party. So I'm going to see what it's like to meet other 30-year-olds in Finland.
Okay, so follow-up question on that. So you're going there. Abhi ye is program ka part hai. Now I'm sure you must be properly tired, or you're excited about introducing yourself again and again and again, because the number of times this happens to you more than the average person, because you're out far more, right? At least in my purview, मैं तो तेरे को ही जानता हूँ जो बहुत ज़्यादा, like it's what you do, right? Like you travel for a living. So do introductions become very or worse, or they become crisp like an elevator pitch, because you have to again recontextualize your life and say it again. मैं तान्या हूँ, मैं करती हूँ, कितने साल चलता आ रहा है वो भी.
Yeah, so I think I've just become very picky in what I say. I just have 1 or 2 sentences to say about myself. मैं ज़्यादा नहीं बोलती. बाकी अगर if it goes somewhere, if we have more conversations, then obviously बातों में हो जाता है. But the first sentence is always only 2 sentences. Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm from India, and I'm a content creator. I travel for a living. It's usually just itna brief sa introduction, and that's it. I agree with your point. It becomes very, it becomes a capsule-sized introduction more often than not, because how many times are you going to share a long-ass story,
And so how has that changed over the years? Like you pehli baar, like say you go out abroad for the first, second time, then like what were you introducing yourself like? Also to add that one of the things that at least happens to me when I don't travel for a while, or when I get India में तो हमें लगता है हम तो राजा हैं, यहाँ तो हमें सब जानते हैं, हमारे दोस्त हैं यहाँ क्या करना है, introduction, hello, it's so easy. So once you go abroad, a different kind of a sense activates, and a lot of this latent shyness and awkwardness that I have now comes out, because now I have to like reintroduce myself, and there's no hierarchy, so you're just like a stranger now. So in the first few like days, I'm always stumbling and fumbling and saying the wrong things and being very awkward. It takes a while to get into practice. Is that the same for you?
I think for me, it is slightly different. At least when I was much, much younger, like a 22-year-old or something, I kind of focused more on setting an impression. Matlab, I'll be very honest. Like, when you're traveling abroad, you want to make an impression. Ki, oh, मैं ये हूँ, मैं वो हूँ, मैं ये हूँ, मैं वो हूँ. I do this also, I do this also, yeah, this also. And you just kind of want to impress other people, So I think now that wanting to create an impression kind of has gone away over time. Like now I'm very confident in just being myself. Ki, ठीक है यार, तुम्हें जानना है और तो जान लोगे, नहीं जानना होगा तो हम लोग हाई बाय बोल के अपने अपने रास्ते निकल लेंगे टाइप्स. तो पहले बहुत ज्यादा ये होता था, and I think that is where more of that shyness came from, where I used to be like very conscious कि are they judging me? What are they thinking of me? Am I setting a good impression? Am I, representing myself and also my country in a good way? So over time, I think that went away. And I think for me, the shyness came from there, where just was the priority, just setting an impression. And also, also I think happens when you're single also in life.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
I don't know what to say about that. I did notice, I do agree with the part where you're kind of settled into yourself, because I went to a bar. I know मैं bar की list सारी follow करता हूँ, top 50 वाली कौन सी है. So I figured out यहाँ पे number 15 वाली bar है Madrid में. So I went there. And I know how to I understand bar etiquette like no one else, because I've been to so many bars. And
Hmm.
like when I first started going to bars, I would always strike up conversation with everyone I saw. Ki, hi, 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 hi. But I casually sat and had my drink. And this old man who was a regular started talking with me. And usually क्या होता है कि जवान बोलते हैं कि और अपने बुजुर्ग और अपने तजुर्बे का मेरे को वो नुस्खा दो, पर ऐसा कुछ नहीं है,
Correct, correct, correct. I
नॉर्मली
love
बात करो
speaking
ना.
to older people, honestly.
हाँ. So then but because I was non-committal but like still engaging with him, he started telling me all these great stories. अगर मैं बैठ
Yeah,
के
correct.
बोलता, hey, so I'm from India, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think over time you figure out how to be chill also, but
Still, right,
that only comes with experience. Like first few times तुम
correct,
कुछ
correct.
उल्टी बात तो करोगे ही, right?
हाँ.
Can you like, so मेरे साथ बहुत ऐसे embarrassing experiences हुए हैं, but like, do you have any particular embarrassing experiences that strike out to you when maybe it's a cultural mismatch या कुछ और बोलना चाहा, कुछ और हो गया, मछली मंगवाई और सांप आ गया, like some stuff like that?
Yeah, I think one of the most embarrassing things that I've done is I was speaking to a British couple, and I kind of asked them what are their thoughts on colonialism after getting a little tipsy with them, and that was really awkward. That was really, really awkward.
वो तो apologetic हो गए होंगे.
नहीं, बंदी apologetic हो गई, बंदा तो बोल रहा था it's the way of life, it's the way of hierarchy, everybody wants to establish their superiority. I don't think there's anything wrong in it. And I was like, why did I get into this? Okay. Why?
Damn. Yeah. I think it's very important to stay away from hot topics like politics when you're
Yeah,
abroad.
exactly.
You just
Yeah,
want to be like, hi, I'm a traveler, woohoo, love your
yeah,
country. यहाँ तक ठीक
yeah.
रहता है. Um,
I know exactly, and I think that is the most embarrassing thing that I've done to myself, because I should have clearly strayed away from it. Okay, have a nice, decent conversation, and okay, let's just be friends and be cordial with each other.
नहीं, but then if you didn't make that mistake, then you would make it now. So it's better that you
Yeah,
did it then.
correct, exactly. So I'm glad I made it much, much long time back.
Very specific technical question about laundry. So obviously कुछ जगहों पे जैसे I went to ऋषिकेश and मेरे को रास्ते में धोबी मिल गया था, तो मैं लंबे समय के लिए गया था. मैंने कहा ये ले, I was with a partner at that time, तो मैंने कहा चल ये ले हमारे कपड़े धो दे इसको. धो दिए उसने. उस टाइम पे I think हुमा कुरैशी भी आई हुई थी in town, so it was between her dresses and our clothes, and he was in a
Wow.
interesting conversation nonetheless. But some Airbnbs and apartments have laundry और बाहर चीजें होती हैं. I don't know how many clothes you pack for your travels, and like what is your laundry situation like?
So I actually pack very light. Sometimes I'm very, unfortunately, extremely light, so much so that I have to do my laundry very frequently. So I always try and find laundry first. जैसे 2-3 दिन निकल गए ट्रिप के, तो ऑब्वियसली अब लॉन्ड्री का टाइम आ गया है. तो या तो पिक आउट दीज अपार्टमेंट्स व्हिच हैव अ वॉशिंग मशीन इन देम. जैसे इवन इन इंडिया आई थिंक आजकल के अपार्टमेंट्स बहुत अच्छे होने लग गए हैं. वॉशिंग मशीन्स also come in the apartment. And India में तो भाई doing everything is so much more easier. I think maybe it's also our comfort zone, or I don't know, कि
Right.
वो भी ढूंढ लेते हैं, पता है कि कहाँ पे कपड़े धुलवाने हैं. But I think getting services done in India is so much more convenient than abroad, and I really, really value that now that I've seen so much of the world. But हाँ, यहाँ पे in the apartment that I'm staying at, we have a laundromat in the basement of this building, so that is convenient. But in all other countries also, I try and look for these laundry places. जैसे कि one prominent trip that I remember last year was Peru, जहाँ पे मैं बहुत frequently laundry करा रही थी. So they have these laundry services in different parts of town, especially जहाँ पे hostels होते हैं, उसके आसपास भी होते हैं काफी सारे. So you just go to these laundry places, you drop the laundry, and you have a service कि 24 hours में कराना है, 48 hours में कराना है, and then you pay accordingly. And I think this works better in countries जहाँ पे the currency and price parity is a little more favorable. जैसे कि यहाँ Europe, if I get the same service in Europe, obviously it's going to cost more because over here services cost more. So doing your own laundry makes more sense. So जाओ करो laundry अपनी, फिर कपड़े iron करो, फिर dryer में डालो, फिर iron करो. यही situation करना पड़ता है खुद से.
Yeah,
And
I
I have
just
to add something here.
please.
Sorry, go on.
Please, of course. No, you are, please.
Yeah, as a very emancipated Indian girl, growing up in a middle class household, I think in my generation we did not do as many chores.
I was
If you
going to
know what
say
I mean.
that, but तूने बोल दिया.
या मतलब पेरेंट्स बोलते थे बेटा पढ़ाई करो, ये सब करने की क्या जरूरत है,
हाँ.
जाओ अच्छी मार्क्स लेके आओ, दैट इज मोर वैल्यूएबल टू अस. सो आई थिंक हमें चोर्स करने की आदत थोड़ी सी कम हो गई है लाइफ में, एंड इट्स ओनली व्हेन यू ट्रैवल व्हेन यू सी द रियलिटी कि विदाउट डूइंग चोर्स यू कैन नॉट एग्जिस्ट.
Yeah, even as we speak, there is trash that needs to be sorted right outside my camera. और ये चीज, in fact, good that you brought it up only. So, like you and I, I was staying in Faridabad, you were staying in Gurgaon. You can live in your apartment, do all your business. ठीक है, कोई आएगा सफाई करने के लिए, कुछ के लिए आएगा. So, आपको अपने chores कुछ नहीं करने पड़ते. Like if you really think about it, the only upkeep you're doing is on your laptop. कि मेरा email देख ली, like it's all digital software based, nothing in the physical world so much, right? ज़्यादा चद्दर उधर ठीक कर ली, super realistic, super honest. अब यहाँ पे आके मेरा प्रोडक्टिविटी एकदम पे जीरो हो गई क्योंकि मैं रूम गंदा रह रहा है, एंड आई एम नॉट यूज्ड टू अब इस मोड में आना है कि जहाँ खाना दोबारा से बनाना है, सारा का सारा ग्रोसरी लेके आनी है, कपड़े धोने हैं, ये सब करना पड़ेगा दोबारा से. सो यू रियलाइज, ओह माय गॉड, इस तरह की सेल्फ मैनेजमेंट तो मैं काफी टाइम से करी नहीं है.
हाँ.
And I think that's necessary, and you need that again and again, because it just shows you the rest of the world does not live as comfortably as Indians do.
हाँ, करेक्ट. एंड आई थिंक हमें कुछ ज्यादा ही इस चीज का सपोर्ट है इंडिया में, एंड दैट स्पॉइल्स अस to a great extent, because I think other people from all over the world are very used to it, scheduling these things as part of their lifestyle.
Right.
And we have to learn and relearn. And I think इसका भी सोचना पड़ता है दिन में. एंड you're right कि काफी सारा टाइम इसी में चला जाता है कि अब क्या बनाना है, अब क्या कुक करना है. Obviously you can't eat outside. If you're living as a bachelor in India, you can order in 3 meals a day. You can order in, and it still won't be a big bump on your budget. Over here, you just cannot, because every meal is going to cost at least 50 euros, and delivery charges extra. So it's not. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah, 50 to thought, like I think that's fine dining, but like it'll cost you. I don't know, Helsinki शायद महंगा हो सकता है with the taxes and whatever, right? But हाँ, मतलब 1500-2000 रुपए per meal लग जाएंगे. तो अगर आप डेली का 6000 खर्च कर रहे हो, like in a month you're just spending like what? An absurd amount of money on just food, right? तो आप खाओगे कमाओगे क्या? हाँ. तो in that sense you're right. Like I am now, मैंने कल बैठ के सब कुछ साफ करा है to set up for the podcast, to get ready. Sunlight सही जगह से आए, 100 चीजें साफ, and now I feel like okay, work can be done here again. But I think people should learn to, like, that's why I think people should travel abroad and live in homestays and Airbnbs and not hotels, because they learn to fend for themselves.
Yeah, and also यहाँ पे एक और चीज है जो बहुत ही different है इंडिया से. I think the even the etiquette of traveling. For example, when you live in Airbnbs over here, they tell you that you have to take out the trash yourself, you have to do the dishes yourself, and you have to do all these things before even leaving the place. You have to keep the kitchen counters clean, and no breadcrumbs on the floor. ऐसे notice होती है proper कि please leave the place the way you came inside. So वो service भी नहीं होती कि आप गंदा करके निकल जाओ यहाँ से. सारा ट्रैश बाहर फेंकना पड़ता है निकलने से पहले अपार्टमेंट से, सॉर्ट करके, वो भी कैन्स एक जगह, बॉटल्स एक जगह, बायो वेस्ट एक साथ, एंड देन यू हैव टू क्लीन द डिशेस आल्सो, पुट इट इन द डिशवॉशर और क्लीन इट मैन्युअली, एंड देन clean the counters, and you have to do these things yourself. So even if you're staying as a tourist, this is an etiquette that you have to follow. And there's also new learning experience when you travel abroad कि अच्छा सर्विसेज का ये मतलब नहीं होता you take the service for granted कि cleaning fees अगर Airbnb पे added है, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि आप गंदा छोड़ के निकल रहे हो यहाँ से.
नहीं, इंडिया में तो ऐसा होता है, जैसे मैं कभी लॉन्ग स्टे एयरबीएनबी में रहा हूँ मुंबई वगैरह में पॉडकास्ट शूट करने के लिए, हर 4 दिन में 3 दिन में क्लीनिंग क्रू आ जाता है, सब कुछ साफ करके चला जाएगा, नो मैटर व्हाट यू वांट. यहाँ पे तो किसी ने पूछा ही नहीं है अभी तक, सो इट्स जस्ट द वे इट इज. I don't know man, this core वाली, मतलब मेरे को पता है when you hit that chores वाली बात ना, मैंने कल रात को बैठ के यही करा है. मतलब मैंने 1.5-2 घंटे लगा के यही करा है. मैंने किचन स्लैब साफ करे हैं, वो अंडे का जो वो होता है ना, समटाइम्स यू आर जस्ट ब्रेकिंग एग्स एंड वो फैल जाता है, उसको रगड़ रगड़ के साफ करा है. एंड लाइक है, मैं तो सेमी वेकेशन पे नहीं आया, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ पता नहीं. This is what it is, this is what it takes.
मेरा भी रोज का रूटीन यही है. सुबह उठ के लाइक यू नो प्रेप फॉर द डे, देन रात को सोने से पहले डिश वॉशर सेट करो, लगा के सो, नहीं लगा के सो के अगले दिन साफ बर्तन नहीं मिलेंगे. तो यू हैव टू शेड्यूल दीज थिंग्स एज पार्ट ऑफ योर लाइफ, एंड आई थिंक दैट इज आल्सो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग डायमेंशन टू ट्रैवलिंग. एंड यू आर राइट, इट डजंट फील लाइक अ वेकेशन देन, इट फील्स लाइक काम भी करना पड़ेगा साथ साथ ये सब करने के लिए.
हाँ मतलब आई थिंक दैट इज अ ट्रू वर्केशन. लोग अपने लैपटॉप लेके एक 5 स्टार में चेक इन कर लेते हैं, बोलते हैं वर्केशन. आई थिंक ये वर्केशन होती है.
ये
um,
वर्केशन होती है.
uh,
Where you're cleaning the eggshells and the अंडे का पूरा splash all of
और
that.
क्या कि जल्दी से चीज खा लेता हूँ नहीं तो सड़ जाएगी 2 दिन के बाद.
Yeah. And
Anyway.
yeah, there's this difference though for sure कि services over here you can't take them for granted. जैसे कि even car rentals, मैंने एक turo.com से ना एक बार car rent की थी, which is like a peer-to-peer car rental service. So it's not like one of those big companies, Expedia or rent a car or
Turo.com. This is for Europe?
Turo. No, I did this in US because मेरे को जहाँ पे मैं गई थी वहाँ पे कोई rental car available नहीं थी. So Turo.com is like a peer-to-peer service, and I think someday if you can't find a car, you can check it out. उसमें तो even while returning the car, you have to go to car wash first. Refuel तो करना ही होता है, वो तो हर rental में होता है कि you have to refuel fully, पूरा petrol top up कर लो. उसके बाद car wash में जाओ, car को पूरा धुलवाओ automatic car wash में, and then vacuum the car from the inside on your own.
What the
You have to
hell?
go to the vacuuming station and seats को घिसो, ज़मीन को घिसो, and if you don't do that, they add an extra fee while you return the car. So you have to do all of these things also.
वाह यार, मैं तो मेरा भारत महान बोल रहा हूँ हर तरफ से.
Yeah, man, I think we have it very comfortable in India, and that is something that we should all realize.
100% realize, and I think you don't realize it when you are sitting there and like, अरे यार बाहर की लाइफ अच्छी है, बाहर की लाइफ बहुत अच्छी है. हाँ, but with everything there is pros and cons. It's like you have to be so independent, self-sufficient in all of these things, otherwise आपको काम नहीं चलेगा. इंडिया में हर चीज के लिए आप फोन पे काम कर सकते हो. आप ना लेटे लेटे लोगों को फोन कर सकते हो कि गैस वाला भैया आ जाओ गैस. आपको आप पूरे दिन बिस्तर में बैठ के सारा अपना काम फोन पे कर सकते हो.
Exactly. That makes us so lazy. And even grocery, for example, यहाँ पे अगर आप grocery deliver कराने जाओगे, बहुत बहुत expensive होगी. वहाँ पे तो Blinkit आजकल, Swiggy, Instamart, oh my goodness, it's so convenient.
मेरे दोस्त मेरे स्टूडियो पे आए, it was a nice Sunday. I was like, okay, let's play. कहते बस Costco की balls नहीं, अभी रुक. 4 मिनट में Costco की balls आ गई.
But I think एक benefit इसका ये है कि going to the grocery store is like an added walk in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you walk, you go outside, you do, and also if the weather cooperates and it's a nice sunny day, you feel nice because यहाँ पे धूप का मतलब समझ में आता है कि अच्छा धूप होती है तो अच्छा feel होता है अंदर से.
You definitely walk a lot. I think that is something that you don't do in India so much. मैंने किसी की tweet भी देखी थी that if you live in the US where you can commute wherever you want, Europe definitely is made for walking, like the entire continent overall, right? I mean, I don't know if maybe Russian cities are different, but I wanted to ask you something else. So notice कि I think तुम्हारे अमेरिका वाले टूर के अंदर you guys got a camper van, right? अब ये एक
that was Norway.
Norway you got a camper van, right? Like I saw it. अब बहुत सारे Airbnb ऐसे भी मिल रहे हैं कि आप एक वैन में रहो, ठीक है? मैं कंसिडर कर रहा था कि वैन में रहना चाहिए या नहीं रहना चाहिए. And for me, a camper van always represented अमेरिका का ग्रेट कम्यूटिंग कल्चर. अमेरिकन मूवीज में देखना उसको कि भाई हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा होता है कि एक एसयूवी में भरते हैं बच्चों को या इनोवा में भरते हैं, रेंटेड इनोवा में, और ले जाते हैं ऋषिकेश वगैरह या मसूरी वगैरह, है ना? दैट्स द वे वी डू इट इन इंडिया. बट देयर इज अ होल क्रॉस कंट्री कैंपर वैन ड्राइविंग कल्चर दैट एग्जिस्ट्स इन अमेरिका, जहाँ पे सारी फैमिली साथ में वेकेशन करती है और रहती है, दैट वी डोंट हैव इन इंडिया. अब होना शुरू हो गया थोड़ा बहुत. Number one, why do that in the first place? And number second, what was the experience of that?
Okay, I think the whole, I mean, for me personally as a traveler, I feel like I really enjoy the novelty of movement. कि आप एक जगह पे नहीं रह रहे, आप मूव करते जा रहे हो, and your home is also moving with you. And it definitely is something that takes getting used to. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि you'll rent a camper van and suddenly you'll be like, oh ये तो बढ़िया है भाई, हो गया मेरा. ऐसा भी नहीं है. You'll definitely, it's a process and you have to get used to it. So I also chose Norway for doing so because I think वहाँ की एक तो roads अच्छी हैं, बड़े सी vehicle को camper van बना के घूमने के लिए. And I feel like it also has it comes with the novelty of great views also, and plus the camping culture over there is very prominent. And I went in a season जो थोड़ा सा off season था, just to get into it comfortably. So I think the driving experience was really phenomenal. Like the first time I drove that big vehicle, it felt like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like driving such a big van and on the road, and it felt like power, like, oh
Mm.
my goodness, it's so amazing. And it was automatic transmission, so also very comfortable driving experience. So overall, the driving experience was very good. I think the living experience was a hit and a miss for me.
How's
I
that?
would still do it again, but it's a very confined space where you're staying in, firstly. And you still have to use a lot of public restrooms and washrooms and
उसके
toilets.
अंदर का वो reliable नहीं होता washroom.
यार मेरी वाली जो वैन थी ना was not a motor home, it was a van. So
Hmm.
motor homes में जो बड़े बड़े luxurious से motor homes होते हैं उसमें toilets भी होते हैं, but you still have to clean them yourself. So you have to go to a camping and remove the जो भी bio waste है
Sludge,
वगैरह,
हाँ.
sludge वगैरह पूरा clean करना पड़ता है, and then you have to add fresh water also. So all of that is also something that you have to learn, and it's not something that you can easily just start. आज start किया कल को आ गया करना. तो सीखना पड़ता है ना ये सब चीजें भी. तो मोटर होम में क्या करना है वो मैंने अभी उसमें जाने की कोशिश नहीं की. मैंने सोचा पहले वैन से स्टार्ट करते हैं, इट्स ईजियर. सो माय वैन डिड नॉट हैव अ टॉयलेट इनसाइड द वैन, इट हैड अ पोर्टा पॉटी. And I did not end up using the porta potty because I felt like कौन साफ करेगा, ऐसे अच्छा इतने सारे restrooms हैं, and there's so many good toilets in Norway. It's better than the US for doing camping for the first time, I think.
But you guys would take showers also in the public restrooms?
Yeah, I mean, there are these restrooms, camping sites. So
Okay,
you
got
park
it.
in camping grounds, जहाँ पे you have showers also, you have toilets also. So, and they're very good and very clean also, extremely clean. So the camping grounds are very good in Norway, and there's an app that can help you find these campgrounds कि कहाँ रह सकते हो. And even if you're camping in the wild, you can obviously, use natural toilets. So that is always there. But more often than not, we preferred camping grounds just because we were doing this for the first time and we wanted to ease ourselves into it.
So, but tell me something, जो ये camper van थी, ये मतलब इसके अंदर क्या, जो मैंने देखा था बेड वगैरह तो लगे ही हुए थे, चीजें तो थी, तो फिर वो how is that like different from a motor home? Like,
it's not. It's just that it did not have a toilet, but the bed was very comfortable. So I think that is definitely a great plus. And I chose a camper van जिसमें bed already it's laid out. It's not like you don't have to make it every night. कुछ camper vans होती है जिसपे side में दोनों sides पे ऐसे couch type की situation होती है, and then every night you have to convert that into a bed. And the camper van that I picked, उसमें सब कुछ already laid out था. Like the bed was fully already made and set up, and the mattress was cut to size, so you don't have to arrange the sofa into a bed every night. And it had a small dining situation and a kitchen. Kitchen भी उस van का ही part था. So there was like a kitchen counter and then a bed. And it's made in a way that it's very functional. So I think if somebody's doing this for the first time, my advice would be go for such a camper van जो जितनी आप comfort prefer कर सकते हो उतना ले लो. ऐसे bed laid out हो तो it'll just make the whole process of sleeping easier for you. You just have to park somewhere and sleep. And every morning wake up and best bed sheet को थोड़ा सा arrange कर दो, हो गया.
You must have driven across several countries. तो जो इंडिया का ड्राइविंग स्टाइल है, does that, like, how do you figure out कि यार यहाँ के रूल्स क्या हैं, लॉज क्या हैं? तो रीजन आई से दैट इज कि अब मैं मैड्रिड में हूँ, तो मैं पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बिल्कुल यूज नहीं कर रहा. इंस्टेड व्हाट आई एम यूजिंग इज वो जो इलेक्ट्रिक स्कूटर्स होते हैं ना, and what they've done is they have साइकिलिंग की लेन्स हाई, मतलब रोड्स के बिल्कुल बीच में, अनलाइक अदर कंट्रीज जो साइड में होती है, राइट इन द मिडल. मेरे साइड से बसेस, ट्रक्स तो नहीं होते यहाँ पे, बसेस सब जा रही होती है, एंड आई एम ऑन दैट फकिंग स्कूटर विद अदर स्कूटर गाइस. कम बंदे आते हैं वहां पे, एंड यू जस्ट रियलाइज भाई मेरे को कुछ नहीं पता है, मैं बस रोड पे देख रहा हूँ जहां ना साइकिलिंग लेन लिखी है, और वो कभी इधर हो जाती है कभी उधर हो जाती है, एंड आई एम जस्ट 25 mph भगा रहा हूँ मैं सड़कों पे, हाईवे से भगा रहा हूँ मैं.
That's so freaky. Oh my goodness. But and do you like cycling? Because I think cycling is also a good option. But how? It's not electric. That's the only thing.
नहीं, वो मैंने सोचा, but I hate the city bikes उसके अंदर बिना gears के धीरे-धीरे ऐसे चलाओ तो.
Oh, अच्छा. But you know Helsinki की city bikes are very good. They have gears in it.
हैं. See, these guys have figured it out. No, like the Scandinavian countries definitely prioritize it. Everyone else is like a bad tourist bike.
Yeah. But on that note, I think I'll come to the driving question. But on that note, I think that European cities, they have an edge over US also, in my opinion, in terms of the lifestyle. Because in the US, the only thing that I don't like is that you can't get to anywhere unless you're driving. If you don't have a rental car, you can't go from one place to another at all. Public transportation is very poor in most places. only in probably big cities, very big cities like New York or San Francisco, they have somewhat integrated public transportation, but you can't go from one place to another. Just Hawaii was always like a big bucket list destination for me. Ki, oh, Hawaii jayenge, it's so pretty. The reels and videos from there look so stunning. The first day I went there, I realized यहाँ पे भाई the islands are so big, you can't get anywhere. And यहाँ पे कोई Southeast Asia जैसा scooty culture भी नहीं होता. You have to rent a car, and without renting a car, you can't get from place to place. And they're such long distances. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि छोटा सा island है, एक side से दूसरे side बस चल के पहुंच जाओगे. नहीं. भाई, you can't get anywhere without renting a car. And I think Europe that way has an edge कि यहाँ पे cycling and walking का culture काफी अच्छा है. So for me, I think I really like that. And Helsinki also for me is amazing because यहाँ पे कहीं पे भी पहुंच सकते हो आप बस city bike use करके. So I like that. And coming to the driving question, I think yes, I've driven in a lot of places now, and I find driving in different countries very comfortable. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि it definitely adds more mobility to you. The rules when it comes to that, you just have to read the handbook or read the local rules. कि क्या करना है, कहाँ से किसको पास देना है. अगर आप एक सर्कल पे खड़े हो तो यू हैव टू स्टॉप. जैसे अनलाइक इंडिया जहाँ पे सर्कल्स राउंड अबाउट्स होते हैं ना, घुसा दो कहीं से भी कार, है ना. यहाँ पे ऐसा होता है कि बिफोर एंटरिंग द सर्कल you have to see if another car is already in the circle, and if they're already crossing you have to stop, like fully stop your vehicle before entering the circle. So roundabouts ka rule hota hai, and you have to read these rules before driving, otherwise obviously you'll get fined. And the only thing is that you have to be careful about getting fined, because if you do, it's a huge bump on your budget. So I'm at least very careful कि मैं सारे rules पहले से पढ़ लेती हूँ and देखती हूँ कि कहाँ पे क्या करना है. Stop sign का क्या meaning होता है, yellow sign का क्या meaning होता है, right side पे मुड़ना है तो क्या rule है, left side पे मुड़ना है तो क्या rule है. तो I think at least first day तो यही figure out करने में लग जाता है कि rules क्या हैं, कैसे करना है manage, and then you get comfortable. Then it just becomes like muscle memory. Drive तो करना आता ही है, types तो कर लो.
मैं तो ऑन द स्कूटर्स ऑल आई सी इज जो डिलीवरी बॉयज होते हैं और जो और बंदे होते हैं, क्योंकि वो टेढ़े मेढ़ी चलाते रहते हैं. तो आई फिगर कि अगर ये लोग कर रहे हैं मैं भी कर सकता हूँ, सो आई वांटेड टू आस्क यू दिस नाउ. You have been traveling for so long. हमने last year बात नहीं करी थी. See, now you're traveling with your partner, which makes everything easier, right? But you've also done lots of solo travel.
Yeah.
And मैंने तो इस किताब में ही, thankfully this book has been a lifesaver of even planning this trip and making it happen. About like, I guess the extended, चाहे आप कितने लोगों से मिलो, you're still with yourself, right? And अगर आपका अभी solitude वगैरह ऐसा कोई रिश्ता नहीं बना है, whatever it is, right? I think people dismiss or try to avoid loneliness and just उसको वो positively reframe करते हैं कि नहीं मेरा solitude है. But loneliness is a very real emotion, right? कि जब आप बिल्कुल अकेले पड़ जाओ कि मेरे आसपास कोई नहीं है, या मेरे यहाँ कोई दोस्त नहीं है, या कोई शायद समझता नहीं है मेरे को, जो भी कुछ है. अब कितनी जूम कॉल कर लोगे लोगों के साथ, मतलब राइट. एक फंडामेंटल, you arrive at a point abroad where you realize like that things are getting lonely, and so you must have felt these emotions far more than I have. What are your experiences around them? कैसे डील किया, अगर डील किया, नहीं किया, क्या अभी भी ऐसा होता है even with traveling with the partner?
Okay, so I think for me personally, मैं हमेशा से थोड़ी सी मतलब at least when I was growing up, मैं थोड़ी सी ऐसे introverted और loner type की बंदी थी. तो solo traveling initially was really good. It felt very nice कि oh wow, I love this solitude of just having no fucks to give about other people, and I really like it. But yeah, the loneliness, as you say, it does get to you. Like you want to have friends around you. You want to make friends. So I think you start also seeking friendships, जैसे कि making local friends or going and saying hi to the same person every day, a grocery store pe, like just being more pleasant to people around you. And you realize that when you travel solo, ki, okay, being pleasant has some merit to it.
Yeah. At home, you can be an asshole and get by.
Yeah, you can't. So you try and make friendships and meet more people. Like if you come across a group of other travelers and you just go say hi. If you're scared of saying hi, I think the loneliness in you will take over at some point and be like, yaar karna padega. Otherwise, it's just not fun. You also want to have fun on a vacation, on a solo trip. So I think it's a mixture of both, that in some moments you just enjoy the solitude, and in some moments you realize that, yes, this is getting lonely, and how can I combat that? And I'll have to be brave to combat that. I'll have to be okay with introducing myself and saying hi and going to people and even making a fool of myself, because other people may not receive you as well, It can. So
So talk more about this being brave, right? This is something that people don't often talk about. They often say कि अपनी social anxiety से बाहर निकलो, but you talked about being brave. Like I'm sure first time travel करी होगी, बहुत ऐसा भी हो जाता होगा. मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ 4 दिन में तो सोता ही रहा पहले बहुत लंबे समय तक, because I figured कि just to be super honest, like oh shit, I'm really here. Like this was my dream. I'm here. अब मैं क्या करूँ? And going outside and realizing कि यार Spanish आती नहीं है, and just sort of like turning inward and saying मैं अब सोता हूँ, like just spend my days just not dealing with the fact that I'm now in this new country and I have to go out and just do stuff now.
Yeah, I think a good way of getting started in such countries at least is joining maybe walking tours or something that can make you meet other people, because I think those are great ways of joining a group activity essentially, you know, like any kind of walking tour, any kind of activity, go for kayaking maybe, or SUP, pick up something in the city that will give you access to more other travelers that are also visiting, and that's a good way of easing into activities. And try and befriend the local guide over there and ask him, where do you hang out? What do you do? That is how I self-invited myself to this birthday party that I'm going to today. So I met a person yesterday. Yeah, she was like our sort of local guide, sort of. And I asked her, so what are you doing over the weekend? And I did not say exactly, कि चल let's hang out. ऐसे एकदम से बेशर्म होके नहीं बोला. So what are your plans? How do you spend weekends? So she said कि, oh, I have this birthday party. And मैंने थोड़ा सा ऐसे curiosity show की, oh, so what are birthday parties like? और उसने खुद से ही आगे से बोल दिया कि, oh, you want to join? मैं बोला, हाँ, why not? That'll be fun. So I think 2 rules: be curious about locals and how they live their life, and ask them questions about, how they live, what they do, and be pleasant, of course. Nobody is going to invite you if you're a pleasant person, and be okay with saying yes. If somebody does eventually end up calling you ki, "Are you want to do this?" Even though I know it may be uncomfortable, ki I'm just hanging out with people who are all Finns and I will not understand the language and I don't know if they're going to be polite. And in Finland, there's also this thing of communal silence, which is a very integrated part of their culture. It's something very new. I haven't experienced it yet, but I've read about it, that people over here in big gatherings are completely okay in being silent. Like, it's not considered impolite here. It's part of their culture that people are just okay with silence, prolonged periods of silence, and nobody says anything. It's considered, in fact, a part of bonding. Let's just embrace silence in a group. So I'm not sure if I'll get to experience that today, but I'm really looking forward to that. That how is that going to feel? You just are in a big group in a party or something, and nobody's talking to one another. So let's see. So yeah, I think you should be okay with saying yes. And when it comes to social anxiety, if you actually have some kind of a major social anxiety, I think it's better to seek help for it than trying to, like मैंने जैसे बोला कि be brave about it. I think that is like also undermining your anxiety if you do have one. So don't do that. But I think if it's not that, if it's not a major issue, if it's just general fear of talking to people, then try and make effort little by little. Just be pleasant, be nice, go to a grocery store, start with talking to people and just being nice to them. Ki, hi, how are you doing? Hi, thank you so much. And use those 2 words, abuse those 2 words, please and thank you. Like, just be nice and talk to people, be curious, and say yes if they invite you to something.
Wow. I think bang on tips. Especially the saying yes and how, मतलब पहले से assume कर लेना कि ये अब एक uncomfortable चीज होने वाली है, क्योंकि default response होता है छोड़ कौन जा रहा है, ठीक है अपने यहाँ बैठे हैं, क्या दिक्कत है. When you usually do that, you also turn yourself away from what
if
a culture has to offer, what could be, because you are like, oh, मेरी certainty, मेरा एक fixed bubble, यहाँ देखना है. But like, it reminds me of this book that I've been reading about, like, some experiences are very intense, but we close ourselves off to them because we don't want to feel the intensity of being in a very uncomfortable situation जहाँ पे आप का वो नहीं है. जैसे अब मैं फॉर एग्जांपल, तेरा गुड़गांव में पहले अपार्टमेंट था, तेरे को पता है मेरा अपार्टमेंट है, गुड़गांव कहाँ है, कैसे, उबर में बैठे गए, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. एट nowhere, no point do you feel like I don't belong here. You belong here, you've lived there. But that's not the same when a local asks you to be a part of it, because you will always be perceived as a foreigner. In your head तुम्हें लगता है कि अरे यार ये सब मेरे को देख रहे हैं, मैं बाहर से हूँ, ऐसे वैसे. And those are not easy emotions to handle. But I found that if that happens, the most you can do is embrace it. Well, I guess this is it.
Yeah. Even if you feel lonely in that gathering or in that situation, just embrace it. just realize ki, theek hai, this is an emotion I'm feeling and it's fine. I mean, it's part of growing up and experiencing things. And I think, I feel that you in life, you should be okay with experiencing new things, or at least try and get there where you're okay with, embracing newer experiences and even uncomfortable situations, because that saying goes ki life is short and you only live once, all of that. Meri saying ulti hai. I think life is long. You potentially can, if nothing happens, you can live up to 80, 90, 100 years. And I think you should live for those days. You should live today for those days. You should create memories today for those years when you're 80, when right now I'm in that situation where everybody's getting married around me. Maybe I will eventually live to be in that situation where everybody's dying around me, where I'm attending funerals more than I'm attending marriages, or where I'm attending funerals more than baby showers. Those stages of life come. And when that happens, when I see that stage of my life, I want to have memories that keep me happy. I want to have experiences that make for great stories, so that I become an interesting person then. And I can write books about it. I can talk to younger people and tell them, oh, you know what, in our times we used to do this, and that is why our lives are interesting. So I want to live for those days. And I think that is why my saying is ulta ki life is not short, life can be long, but to make it really meaningful and nice, you have to live an interesting life throughout your life, not just in your early years, but throughout your life. Make it interesting for yourself, so that you live a happy life eventually.
Yeah, दो तरीके के बुड्ढे होते हैं, एक होते हैं खड़ूस, एक होते हैं कूल, right?
Yeah,
I think we
I
should
want to be the
always,
cool one.
yeah, it's like अरे वो मेरी दादी या दादा वो कितने cool है, पता है वो यहाँ, like you want, I think that's a good goal to aspire to, especially for those of us in their early 30s and late 20s, where you're now heading into like a different part of adulthood. And
Yeah,
from what I've heard is, that from, you don't really realize, but यहाँ से कब middle age आ जाती है, considering how many commitments people start getting on into their lives, right? Once they get to these stages, ki you arrive at middle age and you don't even know मेरी जिंदगी कहाँ गई, फिर वो एक middle age वाला crisis आना शुरू हो जाता है, and then you reevaluate, and but then you
कि
only
मैंने
have,
कब क्या
हाँ, but then you only have like half a palette, right? आप जित कुछ कर सकते हो, कुछ age आपके साथ है, कुछ नहीं है, कुछ responsibilities हैं. So I think it's very awesome that you decided like I will just be okay with being embarrassed and like embracing these uncomfortable feelings now, so that मैं जब when I'm older I don't have to feel like यार वो रह गया, ये रह गया, वो रह गया, because regret कितनी major चीज है, कितने सारे अच्छे अच्छे speakers या like authors होते हैं, like anyone who does like a press conference or like a big event, you'll often hear them talk about you should spend more time in hospices and old age homes, and see that the most amount of emotions that older people feel is regret of not doing things. So you want to minimize the regrets now.
Yeah. Honestly, that's why I think I personally also really, really like talking to older people and hearing their life experiences. I find that the most interesting facet of life, even more so than speaking to, when you speak to younger people, they have so many aspirations, and I think it makes you feel more hopeful. But when you speak to older people, they have so much wisdom, and that I really find very interesting. Matlab, it's like reading a book that has a lot of experiences, but you're hearing those lived experiences. Jaise ki in the program, one of the persons that I love speaking to is an Italian lady who is probably in her 50s. She has 2 grown kids who are going to university. She's Italian and her husband is American. And they both, after settling their kids and sending them to uni, they decided that let's stop living in America. I mean, let's relocate somewhere else. Let's go to Europe. We've been following this checklist all our lives, where we've lived or, completed all our responsibilities. Let's just leave off on an adventure. And I think that's so cool that they decided to do that. And I know when people take these odd decisions in life, it's a lot of things at play. They are brave. They probably have money saved up, or whatever privilege you want to say. And whenever somebody takes these odd decisions in life, we always put it on कि अरे यार होगा उनके पास कुछ, उनकी कोई privilege होगी, उनका कोई होगा, like whatever, they have it better in life maybe. But people don't realize that I think all of these decisions can be well within all of our reach as well, if we plan our lives in this way. We plan for these. Like, take hard decisions, make difficult choices if that is what you want, instead of just saying ki nahi yaar, they have it easy, or this person has it easy, this person has it easy. I think everybody can choose to live in a certain way, as long as it is, think of what is well within your own reach and means, and then plan your life in such a way that you live a life that you can be happy about.
Yeah.
It sounds very preachy, I know, but I
No,
think
it is not.
I fall by it.
No, I think you live by, and I think I don't know if तूने कभी lifestyle design word सुना होगा, but तू उसको बहुत पहले से follow कर रही है. अब it's become a very popular thing amongst knowledge workers and Twitter पे जितने भी authorities होती हैं, or like people who are like kind of digital nomads, to say like things like instead of focusing on building a big business, focus on being profitable, become location independent, work less, figure out if you can work from remote locations. Obviously, proper digital nomad होने के भी pros and cons हैं, because people
It's
also
very taxing. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy.
Yeah, I actually watched a video yesterday of this guy talking about कि यार हम तो 5 साल रहे मैं और मेरी बीवी पर हम थक गए, क्योंकि हर कंट्री में जाके नए टैक्सेस, नए बर्डन्स, एंड फिर लोगों ने कमेंट्स में लिखा होता भाई एक साल एक कंट्री में रहना, किसने बोला हर महीने अलग कंट्री जाने के लिए, which also again
मेरी तरह ज्यादा ओवर हाइपर एक्साइटेड होगा शायद.
No, but it's, there are merits and disadvantages, but it definitely applies ki I think one of the best things that probably you have done for yourself from the outside is you decided ki this is a bold journey that I will venture on alone. Otherwise, like, बड़ा इजी होता है बोलना कि चलो ठीक है मैं ट्रैवल कंटेंट क्रिएटर हूँ, मैं यहाँ वहाँ घूमती रहूंगी, बस ऐसे चलता रहेगा. But then you decided कि I'm now gonna experiment with like living longer in a different country and see if I can take it to the next level. Even just the first choice of becoming like a travel content creator is like daring in itself. You're not just going to a hotel for like 2 days ऐसे करके चलो फटाफट घर आ गए, फिर घर रह रहे हो 4-5 महीने के, like you're and nothing wrong with that, but just like you're just walking the talk. And so that means like a lot of people considering you foolish in the short term and not understanding your choices. When I was doing this, the number of people said, यार तेरे इतना बढ़िया तो चल रहा है इंडिया के अंदर, इतना क्यों ये कर रहा है ऐसे? But I don't think people often see what you see. But what you see, if you can make the first steps toward it, I think in the long term you're happier. I don't think you have regrets कि वो तो मेरा cousin तो वहाँ चला गया, मेरा cousin तो यहाँ चला गया, मैं तो यहीं रह गया.
Correct. And I completely agree with you on that. And you know what? Maybe you and I, maybe in a year, we'll feel like कि नहीं यार इंडिया में better है, यहाँ पे बहुत महंगा है, ये
Of course.
बहुत problem है. And that's okay. I believe that it's better to make mistakes and realize from them or learn from them than not do it in the first place. Because maybe you will make 10 mistakes and do one thing which is right. And that's completely fine. You should give yourself that leeway of making mistakes and at least taking the first steps towards something. And eventually, if something it doesn't work out, or if it does work out, at least you would have tried. And I think even you live by that.
I mean, I guess मेरे को बहुत time लगा ये decision करने के लिए. It's something I wanted to do for years, and all of a sudden I realized, well, I had a voice rest क्योंकि मेरी आवाज खराब हो गई थी from speaking too much, and so I just applied for a visa. तब जब ये सब चल रहा था, I was away from podcasting and worked very hard on the visa application, and I got through. And जब visa आ गया, it became real. So then I made even more. I made things tougher for myself by getting a one-way ticket. So now everything had to be done in 2 weeks. Now I had to figure out money for the entire tour, wrap up all my business, all of that. But because of the deadline, I worked with focus and clearly in a way I haven't done in probably like a year.
Yeah.
Because this was like I was dream को साकार करना है. ऐसा थोड़ी कर सकता हूँ कि visa आ गया है, अब logistics clear नहीं है. So I think the deadline really helps, and the entire time it's like आपकी फट रही होती है कि ये क्या, what is happening? But I guess that's, if you're feeling fear, you're kind of on the right track, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think fear is a major part of any decision that you make. And it's completely normal to have fear. And maybe once you do it, you realize कि इतना बड़ी कोई बात तो थी नहीं जितना मेरे दिमाग में था. Like I'm sure you came here and you told me कि 5 दिन तो मैं सोया ही हूँ, बस मैंने और कुछ नहीं किया. And it's such a big dream that you worked so hard towards, and you just realize after coming there कि मुझे तो बस सोना है यहाँ पे. And people will think that's so foolish, but actually it's not, because at least you had a vision towards doing something and you did it, and then you realize कि now I can take it anywhere, wherever I want.
No, it's very cool. No, I can't believe that we met in one geography at one place in Faridabad at my studio, and now we're in like completely different geographies doing this. So it also is a testament
Separated
to
by
the
1 hour of time zone also.
exactly. So which also attests to the fact that there are ways. I think सबसे बड़ी problem होती है is like the status signaling around trying to look successful, right? जब हम लोग सबके सामने सक्सेसफुल दिखने की कोशिश करते हैं और वी ट्राई टू लाइक अपील टू द जैसे करदाशियंस बोलते हैं, हम बोलेंगे मल्होत्रास बोल लेते हैं, चलो ठीक है, लाइक इफ यू ट्राई टू बी लाइक द मल्होत्रास then we run this risk.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And plus, I think, I mean, मेरे को तो ऐसे feel होता ही है that as somebody who's on the internet and at least partially 20% of my life is on the internet, there's also this pressure. I mean, not really. I think I've done away with that pressure for most part. But in also, क्या बोलते हैं, not making mistakes. You know, कि दूसरों को कैसे लगेगा कि तुमने ये किया और फिर तुम इसमें सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो या फिर हुए या फिर one of those things. Also doing more things just to cater to what people think about you, and that is a huge part of us humans in general, especially if you're on a public forum, and trying to get away with, not get away, but trying to minimize that fear also, that additional fear also has to be a part and parcel of the process.
So okay, let me just ask two more things and then I'll let you be, okay? Because it's 2 p.m. where you're at, so I'm pretty sure you're hungry.
Yeah.
So number one, अब इसी की बात करते हैं, because it's a very interesting thing that you do. कोई ये भी बोल सकता है कि तूने अपना पैशन ही मोनेटाइज कर लिया, फिर दूसरा इंसान ये भी बोल सकता है भाई पैशन मोनेटाइज कर लिया तो अब ये तो काम बन गया है, ठीक है, तो फन कहाँ है? मैं रियलिस्टिक एक असेसमेंट चल रहा हूँ. सो इन दैट सेंस ये मन में क्या फ्रेमवर्क रहता है कि यार अब मैं हेलसिंकी में बैठी हूँ, अब कहने को तो बहुत अच्छी कंटेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी बन रही है कि ये इसको रिकॉर्ड कर लेती हूँ, बट should I do it or should I just quote unquote live in the moment? Is that something that's has come up yet or no?
Yeah, I think it keeps coming up from time to time, because at the end of the day, I mean, I did monetize my passion because this was a passion and I like doing this. And on some days I feel okay, creating a distinction between what is meant for living, what is meant for creating, it does become a little blurry, especially जैसे तू तो podcasting करता है, so I think that's a very different, there's a very clear distinction. But because I'm also very active on Instagram and YouTube videos, so I have to create that distinction मतलब think about it कि ये YouTube video बनानी है कि नहीं बनानी, should I do this, should I not do this, should I make a reel out of this or not do this? And I always have to keep taking a call on that, and I think that is a part of the process as well. जैसे कि when I got engaged, for example, मैंने सोचा कि क्या मैं इसकी YouTube video बनाऊं या नहीं बनाऊं, and that is unfortunately a point of contention. I eventually chose not to, I mean, make a big deal about it or post like 5 posts about it. I just made a photo post about it. And I also a little delayed, like very delayed from the actual event, because I was very apprehensive that this is something I'm happy about. Should I post it to public, and like, is it like I'm sharing my happiness, or is it like I'm monetizing this opportunity? It's the lines are blurry, especially when you're on the internet and you have a major personal life event that has happened. Do you want to, I mean, मुझे ऐसा बुरा लगता है कि I don't want to monetize this, I don't want to make it like a thing which will help me get more followers. ठीक है, so the way and method, I mean, I putting some thought into it becomes a little bit of a question. And even then, maybe if you do have a very solid, क्या बोलते हैं, moral compass about it, I mean, something that helps, that makes you overthink also to some extent, then it'll make you feel कि ये मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, है ना? तो वो distinction create करना पड़ता है, unfortunately. And I think so far, at least, I don't have a lot of my personal life on the internet, मतलब my family or a lot of things I share very briefly about it. And it's one of those things that I know that if I share more, it'll get me more, engagement, quote unquote. I mean, quote unquote नहीं, what do I say? Like, engagement.
मैं समझ गया, engagement exclamation में कि उसके बारे में अलग से एक highlight है, got it.
हाँ, but do you really want to do it, and to what extent you do it, you draw your boundaries. है ना, कि हर टाइम हर चीज कंटेंट नहीं बनानी है तो सोच समझ के बनानी है, and put some thought into it, that is this adding value to somebody else's life, or am I doing this for my own engagement, and have self awareness about it.
Dude, I love your philosophy on it, because एक तो ये चीज होती है, ever since love Gary Vee, but like the whole idea of document don't create suddenly makes you realize कि आप वहां पे आप उसमें vlogs बना लो, अब यहाँ पे ये कर लो. You realize that you get so many suggestions. You could be creating content all the time, but it's so right if it doesn't, especially once you've sort of established yourself as a content creator, you now ask, मैं रैंडम करने के चक्कर में डीपर एंगेजमेंट वगैरह आ जाएगी, बट क्या ये वैल्यू दे रहा है? क्या अगर मैं शांति से बैठा हूं अपने पार्टनर के साथ, किसी नए इंसान का, क्या भी जरूरत है? Hey guys, आज हम आ चुके हैं. Like, is that really necessary, right? But what I love about your stuff is there is always a script. There is always very methodical stuff, I think, which maybe you don't realize it because you're in it, really helps separate it. Like, I don't know anything about your personal life beyond the fact that you had the engagement as a consequence of your content, despite watching your content,
Yeah.
So that's a testament to the fact that maybe you've made that line pretty well.
But you know what? I know for a fact that having this line is also not, क्या बोलते हैं, it is great for having that self-awareness and that distinction, but it's also not good for content. So I also know that maybe I would get more hits and more likes and more likable if I shared everything in real time, and if I shared everything as it is and put more of my personal life. But at what cost? I mean, again, I think of myself when I'm 80-year-old, when I'm an 80-year-old, and that is where I always look back. Will I regret this? Will this make a difference in my life? Because I think I also kind of tried being a daily vlogger on my second channel, and I did it on the second channel because I wanted to kind of just experiment it. And I realized that there were a lot of demerits to it, like the way things appear. Also, I mean, not the way things appear, but the way you put yourself in that pressure of creating that content and exposing a lot of your personal life, and how it's sometimes misconstrued. I think a lot of it started making me feel कि नहीं, maybe this is not something that I will relish when I'm an 80-year-old.
Yeah, कुछ चीजें तो अपनी जर्नल के अंदर भी रखनी चाहिए ना, कि डियर डायरी आज मैं
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
मतलब maybe in 2-3 years, मतलब in the short span of 2-3 years, it'll benefit me, but in the long run, it will probably not benefit me.
100%. Because I also think you can't go back from that, right? Like, I think very much respect to all the daily vloggers who are hustling it, right? But अगर आप उसकी grind में घुस गए and you get an audience, turning that dial back is next to impossible. कैसे करोगे आप?
Exactly. मतलब आपको छोड़ना ही पड़ेगा फिर तो social media. Then it's like a do or not do kind of a situation.
Well, I'm glad that you have that self-awareness, and I honestly think चाहे वो WhatsApp पे छोटी-छोटी चीजों से तेरे को irritate करना हो कि डमी टिकट्स कैसे बुक करनी है, ठीक है, massively helpful by the way. चाहे वो और random चीजें हो, ठीक है, और it's just discussing कि यहाँ से ये content बनेगा वो बनेगा. I really enjoy speaking with you. I think when it comes to travel content and in general being very helpful as a fellow creator around this, I think you're the encyclopedia and the hands-on authority in the country, as far as I believe.
Thank you so much.
And obviously, I wish you the best of luck in Helsinki. And yaar, it was once again fun talking to you. And thank you for being the first podcast guest on Dostcast Madrid.
Honestly, I wish you all the best as well, because I think it's always really fun talking to you, and thank you for having me as the first remote guest, and all the best for your journey as well. I'm so happy for you कि तू भी ये कर रहा है, and we are very close by. तू Madrid में, मैं Helsinki में हूँ, and podcasting with a 1 hour of time zone difference. तेरे यहाँ पे 1 बज गया, मेरे यहाँ पे 2 बज गया, but it was really fun speaking to you and doing these remote kind of content creation and being in the same boat. It's really fun. So thank you so much for having me, and all the best.
Thank you. And I definitely will say some of the things you said today, I'm going to use in my time in Madrid and hopefully in the UK as well. Obviously, people can follow your stuff on Tanya Khanijow, just the first name and the last name on every platform. And best of luck in Helsinki. See you in some part of the world in some other time zone, hopefully soon. ठीक है?
Yes, thank you so much. मिलते हैं अगले साल दोस्तकास्ट पे, right?
ठीक है. Sorry, यार. Okay.